Here we go, guys. We are going live on YouTube. So your warning should be popping up for that. If you don't want your likeness on YouTube, just turn your camera off or your audio off, or you can go watch us on YouTube. Either way, it don't matter. All right. All right. And there's the slap back. Let me turn that off. And I'm just going to keep the chat room up here so I can keep an eye on that. Oh, all right. Boy, I got to tell you, it's a little interesting here. I'm going to go ahead and start the net, and then I'll tell you guys what's going on. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. This is the Southwest Florida Tech Net. My name's Ian, KO4EFS, and I'm here with my co-host, Joseph, KM4OVZ. I just got off the air on the FM radio, and here we are now on the Zoom, and we're going to be talking all about ham radio and HF phone tonight. And so hopefully you guys will enjoy that. We've got a lot going on. There's the swap shop is tomorrow. And so hopefully you guys can make it to the swap shop. We'd love to meet you guys out there. I know Joseph's going to be there. I'm going to be there. And I know I've heard 3 or 4 other people say they were going to be there as well. So I have a funny feeling it's going to be a nice big swap shop. I got to tell you guys something crazy that happened to me this week. I bought this antenna to go on the van. And it's got 4 big magnets. I bought it at the SWAT shop. It's got this huge, big comet antenna on it and everything. The top element flew off.
What?
So, yep, the top element flew off. So now I have to go to the swap shop tomorrow, and I have to find a rod in there. I know there's one in there somewhere that I can put up there as a top element. But I'm having a hard time matching this up exactly and getting the exact dimensions that I'm going to need in order to do that. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, but we'll work on that tomorrow. That's not a big deal. So tonight we are going to be doing HF phone, and it's a topic that I think is going to be great because it's probably the coolest thing in ham radio still is talking to somebody on the other side of the world. And yet it almost seems like something that's becoming lost in the whole thing. And so we're going to try to reinvigorate that a little bit tonight. I'm going to let everybody know I don't have my monitor tonight. I am operating in the shack, but it's everything is completely taken apart. And some things are working, some aren't. The big screens are not on. They're all dark up here. And I literally have screens that I sat here on the desk that I bought at a thrift store while I was gone. I spent $12 and got 3 screens. And those are going to be hooked up to some new computer equipment that's being brought and donated to us. And we're going to be putting up more systems with that. I got a receiver being donated tomorrow at the swap shop to me, and that's going to be hooked up to the SSTV, and it's going to put your SSTV pictures that you send on the internet. So you'll be able to use it as like a test thing. It'll be pretty cool. And we're going to put it on a different band, different mode, different frequency every week, and I can't wait to tell you guys more about that. As soon as we get it going, we'll get that up there. As far as let's see here. All right, I just there was 2 or 3 people unmuted. I just muted everybody because someone's typing was really loud, and I'm not sure who it was, so I just went ahead and muted everybody. Okay. Let's see here. Tonight, we're going to be doing HF calling frequencies for single sideband. We're going to discuss calling CQ on HF and why it's become so difficult. The stories I hear out there from the hams that have been around a while make me jealous. Apparently, there used to be a lot more activity on the bands. So we're going to discuss that tonight. We're going to discuss what can we do about it, and we'll then take your topics as well towards the end of the night. And then we're also going to have all the latest ham radio news, space weather, tropical weather updates, and information nets, contests, information, events. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. Some of the headlines we are going to be, if you guys don't hang out for the end, we do ham radio news and all the headlines and all the space weather and all that stuff's pushed to the end. So try to hang out for that if you can. I know it's late. Earth-directed CME. We've got a coronal mass ejection heading towards Earth. Now, these generally disrupt the geomagnetic field. And a lot of times they'll really screw up HF and make it bad. But sometimes right before and right after and even during, certain bands will open up in a wild way. So it's not necessarily always a bad thing when we have this coronal mass ejection situation. See, sunspots are good. Sunspots will bring up that solar flux reading, and that's good. But if we get a coronal mass ejection like this thrown at us, it can disrupt the magnetic field so much that the HF communication literally is abated, and we can't make contact. The tropics are quiet. We're going to be dropping the tropical reports here coming up in a few weeks because we're just that far into the season. It's almost over. The swap shop tomorrow in North Fort Myers. Hope to see everybody there. We've got the best weather in 7 months starting tomorrow morning.
Today was pretty good too.
Today was pretty good. A little bit of rain, listen to that, but and there's a little chance for rain tomorrow too, but it won't. It'll be short lived. But then it's gonna dry out completely. And once it dries out, it's going to get really nice. We could get down. Lehigh and inland communities could see upper 50s over the next few nights. So yeah, it could be really, really nice. Tomorrow,
blizzard warning.
Yeah, for Florida, that's a blizzard warning. And tomorrow, most places won't make 80. So that's pretty.
I saw that. Yeah, the high was like 77 or something.
Yeah, for down here, for even late October, it's pretty nice to have a day where we don't even see an 8 in there anywhere. I like that. So we also have perfect Halloween weather too. If you're taking the kids out or you're going to be doing some activities on Halloween, absolutely perfect Halloween weather. It's going to be crystal clear out there. The only thing that would have made it better is a full moon. All right. Do what?
The werewolves could have been out.
That's right. But now we'll just get everything but the werewolves. I think everybody's going in Squid Game costumes this year. So, you guys watch that? Has anybody watched Squid Game?
No.
Okay.
I've heard it mentioned.
Guys. Yeah. Let me tell you guys something. As a side here, just real quick. It's the first sub-captioned foreign television show I've ever watched, and it's South Korean. It's kind of like a bus crash. You have to watch.
Oh, because
It's pretty much all I'm going to say about that. It's a crazy show. It shot up to the #1 show on Netflix. It has now beat all of Netflix's records all time. And it's South Korean, folks. Watch my tongue.
Wow.
South Korean. They are making amazing television over there. The sets, the actors, the things. I'm impressed. I've never watched foreign TV. I'm one of these people that I'm fine with my own culture. You know what I mean? I don't even care. You do what you do. I do what I do. Libertarian here. But I found an amazing thing in that Squid Game. Now it's very violent. If you don't like headshots, don't watch it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to like a couple of headshots or a couple of thousand. But I will tell you, it's called Squid Game. Look it up. It's South Korean. I've said that twice, and I apologize to my South Korean friends. It's a really, really neat show. It's only 9 episodes. They're about an hour and 10 minutes long. Lots of twists and turns. It's really cool. I'm not putting an ad out there. It's such a subliminal head. I don't know how to say it in here. This is like the net where we don't cuss, but it's literally like a mind screw. Let me just put it that way. And you guys know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Check it out. It's funny. If you see people dressed in red, like all red suits with a weird mask with a shape on it, that's Squid Game. You'll know what it is now. Anyway, okay. Expect a headshot coming soon. Local nets are getting more active. We had 21 people on the buck and a quarter net this week. We had, I think, 8 or 9 or 10 of us on the Gab Fest, the Simplex net. It's doing better. We're doing a lot better on the nets. I'll go through the nets again towards the end, but try to get active on the nets. We're trying, us and other clubs are all trying to get people to be more active on the nets. We've got linked repeaters now, and I've got a map I'm going to show you guys in a little while, right after the first segment. going to go into that. I'm going to show you guys a new map of linked repeaters, and hopefully we can get some more people using that. And also the CQ Worldwide DX contest on single sideband is this weekend. Probably one of the bigger contests. It's such a big contest that there's no other big contest this weekend. So that kind of tells you something right there. And so we're going to talk about that. But first, tonight we're going to talk about HF phone. I got to tell you, and I'm going to let Joseph have it here for a minute too, so he can talk about his frustrations. I got to tell you, I bought my HF rig from Tom Lambie, great guy. Plugged it in, hooked it up, and was very surprised. I called CQ for days, and no one answered me. The only time I ever found somebody to talk to was on the AM calling channel on 40, or was it 20? I forget. I think it was 20. I would stay on I would leave it on the AM calling frequency and just turn the squelch up like an FM radio. And I just leave it on there. And then when I hear somebody, I would jump on it, and I was able to make a few QSOs on AM. And what I found is the main frustration I have is that there's no established single sideband calling frequencies. And so we're going to kind of be talking about that tonight, and what we can do about it, what we can do to get around it, and what is there that maybe we can utilize as some kind of calling frequency on some of these bands. You guys are familiar with the band plan. While I got this up, I'll go ahead and let Joseph go ahead. And Joseph brought this idea. I think it's a great one. He asked me the other day, he goes, "What's the calling frequency?" And I'm like, that frustrates me too. Joseph, go ahead.
Yeah, I finally got a working HF antenna last week, and I figured this is kind of my first experience with HF. I've done some listening to it using software-defined radios and other people's rigs and stuff like that. I've been able to listen some, but this is my first time actually using the band for what it's supposed to be used for, and I couldn't make a single contact with anybody on any band. No matter how long I tried, I sat there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes on different bands calling CQ, 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 CQ. No one came back to me. And I know I was getting out okay because I was able to talk to one of my friends over in Alabama. I was able to talk to people in Miami. So I'm definitely getting out, and I'm getting, that's not the issue. No one wants to answer a CQ. Nobody calls CQ. I didn't hear anyone else calling CQ, even when the band was jam packed. Like you couldn't even find a parking spot because you'd hear somebody in the background. It was so busy on 40 meters, and yet not a single person was calling CQ, and nobody answered my CQs. So that was kind of frustrating to me because I want to get into HF, but my main thing I like to do on the radio is talk to people. Everybody's got a different little aspect of the hobby they like, whether it's digital or they want to do slow scan TV or whatever. That's all cool. I happen to like the voice aspect and doing phone, and I was just kind of really disappointed. And the one time I did think somebody was like calling CQ, and that I heard somebody in there. It wasn't a great signal, but I heard somebody, and it almost sounded like they were calling CQ. So I come in there and I say, "Hey, is this frequency in use?" Or I said, is there somebody there? And the people on there were like, "Yeah, this frequency is in use. Get out of here!" Like they were kind of rude about it. And this was on 40. I mean, I know certain bands have certain reputations for the users being kind of rude, but this was on 40 meters, and I was kind of taken aback by how instantly rude everybody was with me butting in on their conversation. I guess they were having a conversation, which I was not, intentionally breaking in, but that's how they reacted. They were like laughing about it, and they're like, "Yeah, these guys are crazy, always breaking in on our conversation or whatever." I mean, they were just mean. So it was like, well, I mean, what am I supposed to do? I'm not going to sit here for a week calling CQ. That's just mind numbing, and I hate it. So if you want to talk to somebody, your only option is set it up ahead of time and pick a frequency ahead of time and have your friend come on there. I mean, that's really all there is if you want to talk to somebody. So I was just disappointed by that. And I thought, hey, maybe make a good TechNet topic if we can try and figure out a solution to this problem.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent topic, and I'm looking forward to going through it because I got to tell you, I was very frustrated with it as well. I've had conversations with a lot of different people in ham radio, including John and some others that have been doing it longer than I have. And I ask them, "What's the deal?" And it's like, it's a challenge. It is what it is. And so I don't know that Yeah, like I said, it is frustrating. But before we go any further, let's go ahead and talk about, we're going to be talking about all the HF bands. And some people may argue that 6 meters is technically VHF, and that's fine. I'm not going to dispute that. You're right. But I'm including it here because we're going to include it in our discussion tonight. We're going to talk about SSB, single sideband. We're going to talk about amplitude modulation and frequency modulation as it pertains to each band and any calling frequencies that might be out there for that band. And you know what? When I went and looked, there's just not a lot. This is the first one. This is 160 meters. And I was very surprised. There's really, again, there's an SSB QRP calling frequency. Mm-hmm. And there's your SSB and wideband modes. There's your CWQRP. But again, no established calling frequency for single sideband. I have never spoke to anybody on voice on 160. I have made a few FT8 contacts on there. My wire doesn't like to go that long. So does anybody have anything they would like to say about 160 or any place they go to find activity on 160?
I just can't believe they have a QRP calling frequency, but not a normal calling frequency.
I know, it's bizarre to me. And people are like, well, but that's the way it is. I'm like, yeah, that's the way it is. Baskin Robbins has 31 flavors. Can't they have 32? Okay. So anyway,
32. Go to Bahrain and Baskin Robbins has like 13 flavors.
There you go. That's my, since COVID's going on, I'm sure they've only had 7 come in on the truck. So anyway, 160 meters is very similar conditions to what you hear on the AM broadcast band. It's very localized during the day with long distance at night. During the summer months, the long distance at night can be several hundred miles. And during the winter, it can be several thousand miles. I didn't realize until I was putting this together that 160 apparently works a lot better in the winter than it does in the summer. See, I've learned so much by putting this net together every week. So that's kind of cool. We're coming up on that. And it's apparently opens up completely at night. Lots of noise though. That's my problem. I am having a pretty good noise floor on it, but my problem is my random wire is only like, it's somewhere between 30 and 40 meters or something. So for me to tune all the way up to 160 meters, I can't get the SWR to settle down. It just won't. So I get it under 3 and make a few contacts just for the logbook, and then I quit. Lots of noise created by static crashes. I'll tell you what, one thing about 160, if there's lightning anywhere within 1,000 miles, you will hear it. But when there's no static and it's really clear, it can be a neat band. Okay, anything else on 160? I know it's not used very much. All right, 80 meters. Let's get into something. I use 80 quite a bit. My wire seems to like 80. My FT8 rig seems to like 80. And I have great luck on 80. But I want you guys to notice there's just not a lot of established frequencies for 80. And there is, again, there's no single sideband calling frequency. There is an AM calling frequency.
3560 is the QRP CW calling frequency.
Okay.
Yeah, QRP. Then I don't know what the SSB one is, but there is one. For QRP.
Well, there is one?
Yep.
Well, for QRP.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you will find calling frequencies for QRP, but you're not supposed to go on there if you're using more than 5 or 10 watts or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a courtesy thing. I get it, but I try to
contest
follow all that
weekends,
stuff.
I get stepped on all the time.
Yeah, I know. I try really hard as a young ham to not screw any of that up.
Yeah.
All right.
It's too short for QRP.
You gotta crank up that power.
Yep.
Crank it up.
It's funny because QRP seems like such a small amount of power to me, yet on the flip side, 100 watts seems like all I've ever needed.
Yeah.
Is that
Oh, and
you
you
guys
gotta
feel that way?
Exactly. I've never run more than 100 watts on a ham frequencies.
I
Yeah.
haven't either. Yeah, I don't even have a rig to do it with. I mean, I got 2 barefoot rigs at 100 watts, and that's all I've ever needed.
Plenty. Plenty. Of
Um, I've literally spoke to the farthest away place you can speak to. I've digitally. I'll qualify that. Wrong time of the solar cycle to be talking to people over there, but still could happen though. Anyway, 80 meters is very similar to 160. The greater distances, especially at night, 80 tends to be a very reliable band, less subject to variations in sunspot cycle. This one's a little more regular, everyday kind of band. It's used a lot for regular nets and operations because, again, you don't have days where it's shut off and days where it's wide open. This band's a little more stable. So you'll hear a lot of people that establish days and times for rag chewing and nets and things like that. Again, it can be very noise prone in the summer static. You'll hear lightning on this just about as much as the 160. You'll meet lots of local yokels and make them some very good friends on. I'm just reading what it says here. Anyway, various states and groups seem to be frequent a particular frequency or tune around. I like 80. 80 on FT8 has been wonderful for me. I've made lots of good contacts. It doesn't go that far. You know, one of the misnomers when you get into ham radio is, well, the lower the frequency, the more crazy it is, right? So, you know, not necessarily the case. 80 and 160 will never give you the distance you're getting on 40 and 20. And I'm telling you what, I'm seeing 15 and 12 can be big hops, big hops. So it seems to me like 40 and in especially 80 and 160 are shorter bands, and it actually, as you go up frequency, you get into stuff that jumps a lot further. Is that everybody's? Does anybody want to speak to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, that's what I've been seeing anyway. All right, let's do 40. 40, or no, let's do 60.
60 is pretty.
60 is the odd, crazy band that neither one of my old radios will do. And it's funny, I looked up what you have to do on my Yazoo FT100 in order to make it do this. And it involved boiling water, making chicken soup, cleaning my bathroom, and punching in 73 different codes, doing it in order on my head, upside down with water flowing.
There's something about Line of Newt, too, isn't there?
Yes, and there's something about your second born child. I'm not sure exactly how that works. Something to do with a second serial port. I have never seen a more convoluted bunch of crap. And I love Yazoo. I love it.
You gotta do the Mars mod.
I do that because no matter how I pronounce it, somebody will correct me.
It's Yesu.
So,
that's how they
Yesu.
themselves say you have to pronounce it as Yesu.
Yesu. I can't believe that they go Yesu. They would go Yasu. I'm just saying.
Gesundheit.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, this frequency is weird because they've got a very specific rule here.
It's channelized.
It's channelized. First of all, you can only operate on very specific frequencies, and I've put the little caveats and all on here so you can see it.
It's like 11 meters.
Yeah. It's a cluster of 5 frequency or channels shared with the government users. Many restrictions apply. It sounds like an ad. Many restrictions apply to technical requirements of ham transmitters. And
Ask your doctor if 60 meters is right for you.
Yes, exactly.
Very good. Very good. I liked it.
Not responsible for adverse effects.
Your mileage may vary.
Beware of HF burns on your fingers. Hams are secondary users of the band, and we're not primary, so we must yield to interference problems with government stations. 60 meters is much like 80 and 40 as far as the propagation goes. But here's the thing. Only one signal at a time is permitted on any channel. How can you use FT8 with this then?
You can't. Although it does say CW and RIDI data, so
Yeah,
Well,
it has to be in the, like
So, I mean, I personally run
FT8 on 5357, which is the unofficial frequency for it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And also you're limited on power too.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you got that. You're showing that there.
Yeah, 100 watt PEP, which is generally what I run below that anyway. Like I said, always. So, but I wanted to try this, but when I realized I'd have to sacrifice a child to get my radio to do it, and the fact that I have no children, also played into it. But anyway, I don't know. I don't know what to do with this band. Should I bother? I mean, maybe I'll look up what I have to do with the ICOM. I mean, maybe it just needs a shower and dinner or something. I don't know.
Usually have to do the Mars mod on the radio, which opens up all TX frequencies. It usually involves putting in a code or removing a diode or resistor on the board.
Well, truthfully, I know I made a bunch of fun of it. It involves punching in a bunch of weird codes, going to a certain channel, punching in this code, punching hit this and that. But then I also have to go inside in the middle of this process and cut 2 of 4 jumpers.
Yep.
Yeah, and then put it all back together and then turn it on and finish the process. And I'm like, you know what? Don't know how much I like 60. Don't know.
Hey, Ian.
Yeah.
I have a radio that will do 60 and still don't think it's worth the trouble.
Okay, well that settles it then. Right now I don't care. Eventually I'll buy a radio that'll do it.
I second that. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I don't think it is. And it almost everything that I look like I had to do involves me doing something that could screw something up. And so I try to avoid that.
You have to perform brain surgery on your radio and it may not survive.
Yeah, pretty much.
I didn't like what you had to do with it because you're obviously entering into the back end of the program from the front end of the radio, and then because the FT100 cannot be computer programmed. It's one of the things I hate about the radio. I love everything else about it. It's one of the best shack in the boxes you can get. It's die hard. I've made 7,000 FT8 contacts on it, and it's going strong. But that's the one thing I don't like about it is you can't hook it up to a computer. I have to program everything on the front. And it's weird too. It's like we've got 37 banks of 12 channels and 12 banks of 43 channels and 4 banks of 9 channels.
Hyper memory too.
That would sound better if I read it like Casey Kasem. I got a little letter from a little girl in Southern California. Okay, let's see here. 40 meters. 40 meters is pretty nice. 40 meters is Mini Ham's favorite band. This was my favorite band for the longest time until I realized that if you just do it at the right times, other bands are even better. When I first started, it was even lower in the cycle. And, a year ago, obviously the bottom of the cycle. And 40 was my go-to band because every day at about 5 o'clock, it would open up on the gray line and I could start talking all night on this thing. It was great. So I love 40. But what I found is 40 doesn't give you the distance that 20 or 15 will. But it's a great band. It's always open somewhere. During the summer, daytime distances give you 300 or 400 miles. And at night, you can get 1,000 miles. They're very common. Winter days with 500 miles or more are usual. Nighttime conditions can be intercontinental. I've noticed this. It is shared with broadcast band in a few other countries. And there is one particular signal right in the middle somewhere, like 7.2 something. I think it's like 7.270 or something like that. There's a real strong carrier signal in there, and it's just huge. And sometimes I get it real loud, and sometimes I don't get it much at all. It depends on which way the propagation's running. But you will find literally radio stations in 40 meters.
Yep, the upper part of the band.
Yeah, they're foreign, and they're upper part of the band.
Some below 7,300.
Yeah, there's one right below and one right above 73, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of broadcast stations on certain frequencies, for some reason on a couple nights, I will actually hear another AM station on like 10 megahertz or on 5 on the same frequency as the time station. And I guess I didn't realize that they allowed that. I mean, I guess in other country, it must be a foreign station or something because it'll interfere with the time station. I'll hear another AM.
Venezuela used to have a time signal on 5 and 10, but I don't know if it still does.
I don't think it does anymore.
Yeah.
It's like AM. It's just AM broadcast on the same frequency. It's weird. I didn't know if that was normal or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Were you talking about the WWV time signal? Because there's them,
Yes.
and there's also Canada with CHU.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah. Yeah.
It's on different frequencies. It's 7.3 something, I think. I forgot.
Yeah. It's 7.333, I think.
Something like that.
But yeah, on 10 megahertz, and even I don't know if it's on 15 megahertz, but I know 10 meg sometimes has a station coming in, an AM station, right on top of it. Kind of strange.
Well, you have to remember when it comes to international treaties and things like that, no one owns the spectrum.
Oh yeah.
All we can do is just regulate what our people within our borders do with the spectrum. So there is some countries out there that are just like, we're going to put our radio stations here, and there's nothing you're going to do about it.
Cuba.
Yeah. Or like Cuba, they put up jamming stations.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't jam ham radio. There's not that much jam on a barge, okay? You couldn't jam. There's not that much jam in all of breakfast. You couldn't possibly jam ham bands. And they tried it. They're jamming like all these different frequencies on 40. I'm like, okay, go to 60 or go to
or just go like beside it a little bit. They didn't jam the entire band. It's just certain frequencies. Like, well, just tune next to it. No big deal.
I know, it's water. Build a Yagi. We'll shoot it across the water and use FM. I mean, it's just, I could think of 50 ways to talk to Cuba from Miami, and it's like they're trying to jam 40 meters. And it always reminded me of Spaceballs when he's like, they're jamming us, and you see the jam running down the screen.
Makes me think of Ghostbusters. She slimed me.
She slimed me, yeah. So, you can't jam ham radio. Good luck with that. Because you jam me, I'm just going to switch to another band. All right, so speaking of switching to another band, does anybody have anything else on 40?
7030 is QRPCW frequency, calling frequency. Actually, that's kind of a hang around more than a calling frequency. I know about that one. And there's one on sideband. I don't usually operate sideband on the QRP, so I don't remember. But anyway, there is such an animal.
Right. And there is no SSB actual calling frequency on 40. No. Again, like we talked about, there's a QRP one for people using low wattage, and there's one for SSTV. And of course, as you guys know, they're not represented here always, but there's always a designated frequency for each of the digital modes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You might get to talk to Joe Walsh if you're like.
7074, I think, is the FT8 frequency.
40 is about halfway. 40 as it is halfway between 20 and 80. It has kind of some of the characteristics of both. It's kind of stable like 80, always around, always tried and true, but it is affected a lot more by the solar cycle. So it can be really good or not so good depending on the solar cycle. So it's kind of in between those two, somewhat stable. But there's a lot of nets on 40. 40 has probably the most nets, if not 20, but 40 really has a lot of nets. All right, so let's go to 30 meters. You know what? I gotta tell you, I never even really did anything with 30 for the longest time. And one day I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, let me try this on FT8. And I dialed it up and I was able to tune into it. And surprisingly, there was a lot of people on FT8. And so I made a lot of contact. And so this is becoming a go-to band for me because it's a great band in the late afternoon, early evening, because it splits the difference between day band and night band. And you can really do the gray line stuff with this. Gray line meaning, what gray line means, for if there's any new hams out there that don't know what that means, and if somebody wants to explain it better, please do, because I'm going to try my best. talking to gray line is like you're shooting your beam or you're talking towards people who are like you're in the light, they're in the dark, or vice versa, and you're talking across the terminator from light to dark or from dark to light. That's running the gray line. There's a bunch of names for it. Does anybody have a better explanation?
It's like when you, with AM broadcast stations, it's a great time to hear the stations that are still on, that are on a daytime license that have to go off numerous times in this area. I could hear 50,000 watt stations that go off the air at night up north that are, you know, they're gone after nighttime. So that's when to listen for them.
Yeah, there you go. You're at night, but they're still daytime putting out high wattage.
Yeah.
If I can talk about the gray line propagation,
please do.
Specifically, what I have found is that there's both a sunrise and sunset, but particularly for me on sunrise, about 30 minutes before sunrise and 30 minutes after sunrise, you are actually in the gray line yourself, and at that point in time, I'm able to get really good DX, and I'm on the I'm not sure where everybody's at on here. I know there's a lot of folks in Florida, but I'm on the East Coast here, and I can pick up all the way to Australia, Japan, and New Zealand during that one time of the day. So that's what the gray line propagation does for me.
Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, it works good, and I like to run it in the early morning hours too. Right up, you know, after it starts getting light here, you can run night bands and get Australia, Japan, things like that on 40 and 80. Even 80, I've been able to get stuff towards the dark because I'm on a night band and I'm shooting towards the darkness. And sometimes you get that little kick from the terminator between day and night. I don't really understand it, but it's really cool, really cool. Anything else on that? Anybody want to talk about that? You'll find it one day. There's also another advantage you get, and if someone wants to talk about this, please do. You also get an equatorial advantage as well. You can, when you're shooting over the equator, there's actually some advantage there as well.
Brazil, Argentina, all
yeah. I find it pretty easy to get into South America. It's during the middle of the day in a day band, or during the middle of the night in a night band. Boom, 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 boom. Into South America, Brazil. I can see Brazil on my FT8 screen almost anytime I want if I go to the right band. There's a lot of stations in Brazil, and like I said, when you're running during the big time for that band, like if it's a night band like 80, if it's 11 o'clock at night, you're going to do really good into South America on 80 because you're right in the middle of a night band, and you're going to have that equatorial advantage because it's going over the equator directly in the middle of nighttime. During the day, when I'm on 12 and 15, South America opens wide open in the middle of the day, noon, 1 o'clock, wide open. On FT8, it's crazy. So
have you tried 10 meters yet with that?
Yeah, yeah, a few times. I was running 10 a lot during Magic Band, but my wire doesn't like doing 10, and my Yagi, I can tune my 6-meter Yagi to 10, but I can't get hardly anybody to answer me on it. You want to know why? I checked it out. The lobes the energy's just lobing out everywhere.
A 6-meter antenna is not going to be a very efficient radiator.
No, it's not.
No,
it's not. I thought it'd be pretty cool, but no, it's not. But it does tune up better than that dumb wire. The wire won't tune up at all on 10. It doesn't like load, yeah, it doesn't like 10 at all. I would be on the Windmill Net every Sunday night. I love Charles and them guys on Windmill Net, but it's the one band that I just can't safely talk on. My SWR is just over 3, and I don't like to sit there and just gab on it. You know what's funny? I tune my radio up before I go to bed, wake up in the morning, 6-7 hours later, walk out there, the tuning's completely off.
Yeah, because of the water on the
because of the
ground.
dew on the ground and the dew on the wire and the dew on the trees and everything changes the dynamics of your atmosphere around your the environment around your antenna, and it actually changes my tuning enough that I have to tune it back in again. It'll go
Oh,
from
not a surprise.
I'll completely have the SWR down to 0. The reflected will be at 0, and my output will be at 90%. And in the morning, with the exact same settings, having not touched it at all, I'll have an SWR of 2.5. My reflected's terrible, and I have to retune it because of the dew. And then if I keep working that band, once the dew burns off, I have to adjust it back. So I just didn't know if you guys, those of you who have automatic tuners, may have never noticed that. I don't know, but it's something interesting that I've noticed with HF is even the dew on the grass changes the dynamics with your antenna. All right, let's talk about the next one, which is another big band for a lot of folks, and that's 20 meters. 20 meters is, again, I couldn't find a single sideband calling frequency on it, but there's an AM calling frequency, and this particular AM calling frequency, I've actually had a couple of QSOs on. I literally would just, because there was a certain frequency, I would just leave my radio on that frequency and turn the squelch up. I don't know if you're supposed to do it that way, but that's what I was doing. And then every now and then somebody would, hey, I'm admitting it. I'm new, I've only been doing this, what, 1.5 years now? But I would turn the squelch up to where it wouldn't drive me nuts. And then I'd hear somebody breaking through the squelch. I'd turn it down, and I'd listen, and I'd answer a QSO. I don't think I've ever actually made a QSO except for contesting. Now, when there's contesting, I talk to a lot of people. That's why I'm going to encourage everybody tonight, several times, to get involved in contesting.
All of contesting.
The logbook shit is just complicated. I get it, but we'll get you through it. It's not that big a deal. You can use very simple free software. MM plus LGBT. What is that one?
MM plus. No,
yeah, that one. MM plus.
It's not LSGGGBT.
Yeah, plus. But anyway, that one's good. And there's some like that. They're a little complicated. The FT8, if you just want to compete with FT8, you can do that too. And the FT8, the Wsjtx actually has many of the contests already built into it. And I'd be glad to walk you through it. It takes 5 minutes. But something else, most contests, you do not need to turn in your logbook. As long as one person logs the QSO, he still gets credit for it. So you can do a contest just to practice. Okay. And even if your logbook gets screwed up, it's no big deal. It's not like you're screwing the other guy. Okay. It's kind of an honor system thing with these things. And as long as most of his contacts are confirmed, he'll get credit for them all. So that's the way it works with contesting. And so I really strongly suggest people get into contesting, because you're not going to find anybody to talk to any other way. I don't think. We're going to try to find a way here, but it's not easy. All of your low wattage people, your DXers, hang out on 20 meters. Now, I'll tell you, for some reason, I have a high noise floor on 20. 20 is not my best band. But when I go up to the mountains, 20 works great. So I think it's localized. It's my local situation here.
Something going on at your house, probably.
Right, because 20 is an amazing band. So it's an exciting band. It's got some of the best DX found on the band around the world. Daytime communications are generally possible, and
Maybe
when the
you need
sun
a
spot,
hex beam.
I built a hex beam for 2 meter. That was a nightmare. It ended up being 40-something pounds. I couldn't put it on nothing. Don't build antennas out of wood,
like Little Debbie. Little Debbie weighs 500 pounds.
That's Big Deborah.
You know what we call Little Debbie here? Little diabetes. Sorry.
Gotta have a few jokes here,
just a few.
One thing that may help you out with your noise problem is contact the electric company and have them come out and check your antenna, and they'll tell you if there's local noise that's coming into your antenna. And if it comes from the electric company itself, they'll make sure that it gets repaired so that there is no interference on the ham band.
Someone else has made that suggestion too, and I think that's. I think once I get my reconfiguring all done here, I'm probably going to do that because that's a good idea.
I had the same problem here with noise on 20 and 40, and
Yeah.
I couldn't even hear what was on the air. And LEC came out and did a check on it, and they found the transformer at the fire station that feeds the fire station was shorting out inside and creating noise. And they had that repaired in 3 days after they found the problem.
Nice. And that was the Lee County Uncooperative?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I've had them for a while, and I found them to be quite uncooperative. They don't even have an open office where you can go yell at them anymore. But
you
no,
just
that's cool.
contact them on the phone and tell them
There you
that
go.
you're getting interference. And they have a crew that goes out, and they are specially set up to do the problems with that.
That's cool. I will. I'm going to do that then. I'm going to wait till I get all my. I want to get all my stuff up permanently the way it's going to be. I've got so much stuff here. I don't know. Does a ham ever get done? Did you ever get done with your shack?
Oh, of
No.
course not.
I have this thing in my head. It's like, as soon as I get done with my shack,
You're going to start all over again.
and I'm like, and then I think I listen to myself. I listen to those words come out of my mouth. As soon as I'm done with my shack, I'm gonna, and I'm like, I'm never going to be done with my shack. You're never done with a shack.
It's a work in progress.
Yep.
Ham
sure
radio
is.
is a work in progress.
It is. All right. So now I
By
just
the
want to,
way,
yeah, go
quick
ahead.
question, Ian, you guys were talking on the other frequency a little while ago about these solar panels. And the first thing that comes to mind is how much RFI do those things generate? I've heard some pretty awful reports about how much damn RFI they generate and interfere with the ham bands. That would be something to look into.
It would be, because I haven't really read or heard anything about that. The discussion we had tonight on the radio was very interesting. I'll give you guys the short version. We had 3 or 4 different people call. Come to find out, all the people that called own their own solar company here in town, which is fine. We actually let people do a little plug here and there, whatever.
Yeah.
But they came on the air and they were all like, "Oh, this is great! It's great! It's solar panels. They're everything. They're almost like the second coming of Jesus if you talk to these people." But the point I'm trying to make is you guys got to be careful, because as much as I believe in solar and I think there's something to be there, anything that requires a government subsidy has not reached a point where it's sustainable yet. And so you got to watch out for that, because if something's not sustainable yet, then that
So you mean
subsidy
like fire, EMS, things like that.
Yeah. I just, my only thing with solar is this: the Florida sun destroys everything. You guys know those street lights on Colonial? You guys, and for those of you who aren't from here, I'll tell you what. On Colonial Boulevard, they put in these new LED lights about 5 years ago. These are great
I remember
lights.
that.
They've got a 500,000 hour life. They put these lights up. They're great. They're little thin lights. They put out a great light pattern. Everything's great. I love LED lights. Trust me, I'm a big LED guy. Okay. Everything in my shack is LED. But that being said, they put in these lights. This proves my point. Okay. When they put these lights in, these lights are good for 500,000 hours. Have they been tested for 500,000 hours?
Why, of course not.
Probably
How
not.
could they be tested for 500,000 hours? They just made them 6 months ago, the first one. So you're buying something that is literally untested in the environment for the time that it's rated for.
That's kind of like COVID vaccinations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's not get into that. That would have been the last section of the show tonight. But anyway,
okay.
yeah. But no, so my thing is not that I'm against solar, I'm against government subsidy. We'll put that over here, because I'm not going to get into a political discussion. But But what my other problem with solar is the Florida sun destroys everything. Nothing left in the sun lasts as long as they say it will. You can buy an antenna and stick it out in the sun, and 12 years later, it's a brittle piece of crap, and you got to take it down and throw it in the garbage or part it out. Okay, this sun down here ruins everything. It ruins paint, it ruins wires, it ruins coax, it ruins anything that's left out in it. Put a red sand bucket that you buy for the kids, put that out, put
It'll
it
be
up on your
white.
roof, put it on your roof, and at the end of summer, it'll be a white bucket with a white shovel in it. The sun here destroys everything. Now you're going to tell me you're going to put these black, absorbing all the heat, solar panels on my roof, and they're going to last. How long do they have to last for me to get my money back?
And you got to remember, heat makes them less
20
efficient.
years? Yes,
That's
20
awesome.
years. So this has to work for 20 years in order to get my $32,000 back. So what I have to do is I have to finance $32,000, stretch those payments out over the course of 20 years, and make sure that that payment is less than what I'm saving on my power bill so that I can break even.
You got to remember that
problem
when
is
they're hot,
there's
when the solar
maintenance.
panel is hot, it gets less efficient too.
That's awesome.
And as the older it gets less efficient as well. Any electronic device becomes less efficient with age. Your car does not get the same gas mileage it got last year. It just doesn't. So with solar, with these panels, these black panels that you're putting up on the roof where they're going to be baked every single day, right up to the point where they're splashed with water and the lightning strikes. This is Florida, dude. I mean, we are punishing. So these things are going to be up there. How are they ever going to last 20 years without breaking down? Maintenance. How are they going to be maintenanced? You know, and so what they don't tell you in any of this is, no, it's up there. It's great. You don't have to touch it. Works great. The first time it breaks, you go in the hole. The second time it breaks, you go in the hole. And at the end of it, you're going to spend more on that system than you ever would have spent on the electricity from the power company. It is still not cheaper to make your own electricity. Not by, I hate to say it, Joseph, by generator, not by solar panel, not by windmill, killing birds. There's no way to make electricity as cheap as the Lee County Uncooperative or the Florida Flicker and Flash. There's no way that you can make power cheaper than they can. You know that. Running your own generator is expensive. Having your old solar panels is expensive. Putting up a windmill is very expensive. So basically the bottom line is I'm not against any of this stuff. I'm against subsidizing it. I want to get to the point where we can build this stuff and it makes a difference on its own right then and there. And that's what I really want to see. And I think we're getting there. I know that those solar panels will not last for 20 years on that roof without major maintenance and replacement costs. And the only way this works is if they last 20 years without any maintenance and they still stay at least 90% efficient during that time, which you guys all know they're not. Yeah. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on all that. Does anybody have anything they want to put on solar panels? Positive or negative? Let's hear it. Because like I said, I'm not totally negative on it. I just
see it work, but
there's no real advantage right now to going solar. You spend more money going solar than you can save, no matter what they try and tell you. And the other thing that I found that the windmills that they've been putting up, how great they're supposed to be. They did an investigation on them and they found out that they cost more energy and material to build a windmill than they can produce in their lifetime. So, you don't want to go there.
Yeah. And they're wearing out a lot sooner than they thought they were going to. Go ahead, Rick.
I mean, that's just like these, the solar panels, the lithium ion batteries and all this. Once they are expired, then you've got to dispose of them. And they want to whine about environmental damage. Those things cause a lot of environmental damage, apparently. So it's just not, it's not there yet, not by a long shot.
And my
If
other concern
properly
is electric
recycled.
cars. These electric cars, they take these big expensive batteries, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, when you put a battery in your car, they call that a 5-year battery. When's the last time you got 5 years out of a battery in Florida?
Mhm.
I
So-
get 2, maybe 2 years out of a battery if it's under the hood with the engine. Maybe 3 if it's in the trunk.
It's out in the weather, it's going to be fried in no time.
And so my point is again, you put a battery in a car that's in Florida, the battery's not going to last for the prescribed amount of time, 3 or 4 years, whatever it is. And now you have this huge battery that has to be recycled and disposed of while you got to go buy another one. You know, some of those battery banks are as much as $7,000 or $8,000 for these cars.
Same.
So all I'm saying is I'm not poo-pooing electric cars. Just
No,
remember, if you have an electric car, it runs on natural gas and nuclear power.
Not only that, all of these, getting a little political here,
Oh,
enviro
don't get too political.
that scream about that scream about the first thing they'll do when you start plugging these
Yes, we
things
did.
in is they will oppose the expansion of electrical power plants to accommodate those.
I know. That's
Mark my words, that's what'll happen.
I know. Well, hey, I'm for getting to powered cars. I think we need to get there, but we just got to have. There's the infrastructure is not here to even support it right now. You're absolutely right. All right, let's get back to. Let's get back. Joseph's absolutely right. My co-host has informed me that I've strayed way off topic, and he's absolutely right. So yes, I blame Rick, but I'll take responsibility.
Blame me. Blame me. Kind of
All
like
right.
that camera ad in Atlanta that time.
Yeah.
Blame Alan, but now you can blame Rick.
All right. So that was 20. Does anybody have anything else? The things I can tell you about 20, it's normally a day band. I have great luck with it during the day. It tends to hold on into the night.
Yes,
Right. You can run that gray line out to California sometimes and beyond. I've been on at 10, 11 o'clock at night on 20, and I'm hitting stuff out in the Pacific, way out across the gray line still. So it's a neat band. You can get some real distance on it sometimes. But one neat thing about 20, when you're especially with FT8, there's always somebody on 20. Unless it's midnight and the conditions are bad, there's somebody pretty much always on 20. I have found 20 to be the only band that FT4 seems to be used on with some regularity. I check FT4 all the time because I love FT4 because I'm an impatient SOB, and FT4 is twice as fast. I love FT4, but apparently nobody else does but me. But if you're ever going to find anybody on FT4, you won't find them on 80 or 40 or 50. You're going to find them right here on 20. It's the only place I've ever found FT4 traffic. Let's see here. It does short path, long path. That's what's great about 20 is you never know what it's going to do. And when the solar cycle opens up, 20 gets better. So that's awesome. All right, so there we go. The next one, 17.
This is a good band.
Oh, let me go back. Did anybody have anything else on 20 before I move on?
Well, not so much about 20, but you were talking about how to find noise. We had a guy do a presentation at the GARS meeting back in February, and I've posted the link so you can read a little bit about it. And then we got if you want to get the PDF of his talk, you can download that, or you can go to the YouTube video, which we call GARS Tube, by the way, and you can watch that. And he shows you his software that he's created for tracking down noise that you can plot stuff or you copy it software and plot your noise, and he did all that. And then he called the electric company to come out, and they were able to fix things. But if you just call the electric company, they may or they may not send somebody out. If they don't hear it, they leave. They go back.
Right.
You can tell them which transformer you expect or which pole it's at. You
probably
have a
have to
better
help
chance to have them come out.
What was that, Rick?
You have to help yourself a little bit. Get an old AM radio out and go out and see where the noise is the loudest. MFJ's got one of those little ear things that you can use to, that's for picking up arcing on the transformers and so on, that kind of thing. It probably really helps if you can, do a little pre-research before you call the power company and point them in the right direction.
All right.
You don't call a bloodhound to search the whole town. You just say, here, boy, you go over this way.
All right, Dallas. Anything else?
No, that's it. The link's in the chat.
All right, guys. And I myself am interested in that too, because if I can track it down before I even call them, that would be best. I'm one of these people that likes to have it all hammered out ahead of time. Okay. All right, let's go back to here, and we're now going to switch to 17 meters. 17's a band that I didn't think anybody was on, but the thing is with 17 is it's really a day band. It fades out right after dark. Pretty much not much there after dark. It's very much like 20, but it's the thing I got here says it's popular with mobile. I've never done a lot of mobile with HF, so I can't speak to that. Yeah, whatever. It's supposed to be the Corjo band, whatever that means.
Oh gosh.
There's no contest on it.
Yeah, which means nobody will be there to talk to.
People on there.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never done voice
well,
on
you can't
17.
Can't talk to anybody because it's just Ridian packet.
There's some sideband up there too.
Yeah, there's an area for sideband, but there's no calling frequency, so you just got to go and do like you normally do. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit.
17 has a very active FT8 community.
Yes, I at first didn't realize it, but once I was able to get tuned into 15 and 17, they're both very big FT8 frequencies. Even 12 on the days that it's open is a big FT8 frequency. Very surprising. I find 17 to be a longer band than 20. I seem to do a little longer on 17 than 20. And then you got 15. I tend to do a lot longer on 15 than I do 17 and 20. I swear this one, 15 to me is probably my best band as far as 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I turn it on and it comes up and it's Western Europe or Western Russia, Eastern Europe, Middle East. I'm like, holy crap. Yeah, 15 is a great band when it's open because it's jumping 2,000 miles. Do what?
You can use a 40-meter antenna quite often on 15 and it'll work fine.
Oh, okay. Is that the resonance? Whatever?
It's the third harmonic.
Nice.
3 times 7 is 21.
There you go. Don't get all mathy with me now. 15 gets much better with the sunspot cycle too. So you think it's good now, it gets better. 15 is supposed to open wide open when the flux goes up. But then again, the bad part, when it's down, it's down. When it's closed, it closed. When it's closed, it could be closed for a week. 12 meters. Very heavily influenced by the sunspot at the bottom of the cycle, is suitable only for very short distance ground wave communications only for long periods of time. Then at the peak of the solar cycle, it's capable of communications over thousands of miles with a minimum of equipment. Another nice mobile band when conditions are right. This, like he said, this is one where, 10 and 12 and 6, you can get some ground wave out of. You could talk locally on sometimes. But this also can be a very good long distance band when you get a little help from the solar flux. Anything on 15 or 12? Okay. No. 10 meters. Now, once we get to 10, all of a sudden, There's a frequency for everything.
Yeah. Well, it's 1.7 megahertz wide. So
Yep.
it's almost 2 megahertz wide. It's a wide.
Notice there's an AM calling frequency. There's an FM simplex calling frequency. I've never used 10 meters on FM, but I'm willing to try. There's repeater outputs. I know there's repeaters on 10. I think it would be cool to wait till the solar cycle's good one day and try to hit repeaters that are like 100,000 miles away or whatever. I think that'd be kind of cool. Here's the other oh, wait a minute. There we go. But anyway, there's no actual single sideband calling frequency.
I thought it was 28,400.
That's right in the middle.
Well, it does say 28,300 to 28,900 is all phone. Yeah. But
28,400 is definitely a calling frequency in the kind of New York, New Jersey, PA area for sure. And I know it goes down. When I lived up there, we used to get quite a few people calling from Atlanta and DC area and whatever. I thought it was 28,400.
That's not official, but that's the center of what the technicians can get in on. So if they've got an old radio that's got tubes in it, they key the radio and they tweak and peak and tweak and peak and tweak and peak, and then they go over to their antenna tuner and they tweak and peak and tweak and peak and tweak and peak, and then about the time that they're ready to go CQ, you give out your call sign and you've got them, because they've sat there for 5 minutes getting the SWR as low as they can and getting the power out as high as they can, and then they turn the volume up and realize somebody's calling me or somebody's on that frequency. Yes.
Yeah, well, definitely up north, I say in that area, 28,400 is the 10 meter calling frequency. And you get towed off if you stay there. It's like 6 meters, 125. If you stay there too long, somebody will come on and say, hey, get up a bit, or move up or down. Usually you move up.
All right. Anything else on 10? I want to mention that we do have a 10 meter net on Sunday nights at 9 o'clock called the Windmill Net. I think it's 28.475. I think it is. We'll get to that in a few minutes. I've got a slide for it, but we do have a 10 meter net, and technicians can get on it. It's on a tech band. All right, 10 meters. It's a fun band when it's open. It's an HF band most heavily affected by sunspots and the sunspot cycle, and it can be terrific and exciting at the same time, with lots of DX and QSL hunters, and just for fun. Apparently, when the solar cycle's right, it don't take much, and this is a great band. So I can't wait to see. I haven't had a lot of luck with 10. I found 2 different days when it was open, but like I said, I can't really get my radio to do it. So I don't really have a lot of anything on 10.
The most fun I've had with ham radio is with a converted CB on 10 meters and just sideband and just in the car, and you run 12 watts PEP. Man, you just talk all over the place.
Wow.
Thing opens up. It's incredible.
I can't wait to see that.
All right. And you were asking about or talking about the repeaters. A lot of people want to know why there's not a 10 meter repeater in your neighborhood or anywhere near you. I don't think you really want that repeater near you. I've used the repeaters that are in the Northeast, like Pennsylvania, New York, whatever, from way back when I was in Texas. And what you can find out, if you're like in Austin, Texas, you hit that repeater that's in Pennsylvania, when it comes back to you, it's covering from Houston to Dallas, Fort Worth, and everything in between.
Yeah.
So it's lighting up half of Texas from 1,200 miles away on a one hop.
Yep.
And that makes it have more coverage than like half the linked repeaters that are in all of Texas.
Yeah. There used to be a repeater in Virgin Islands or someplace on 29.66. There's only 4 repeater pairs that are recognized at 10 meters. but it was on one of them, and you could just hear that thing everywhere when that band opened up. It just was incredible.
Yes. And that's the other sad part about it is it's part of the band that the technicians can't get to. So they have to upgrade to general. And a lot of the HF rigs can't generate a PL tone for it if it's tone encoded. So then you have to find some way of injecting the tone. There's mods that you can do to put something in your microphone to do that. Not fun, but yeah.
Yeah, I think Joseph was telling me you could actually have your phone play the tone and hold it up to the microphone or something. Weren't you telling me? Weren't you telling me something crazy like that?
Yeah. So if you have a function generator app on your phone, you can sometimes just take your phone and punch in the tone you want and just hold the phone near the mic. Now, some microphones will like filter out lower frequencies. So if that happens and you have to go past the microphone and straight into the radio, but I've done that before on this Kenwood I have here. I actually tapped into the board, soldered a wire on there, and then I plugged in a phone with a 3.5 millimeter audio jack, just running a function generator app, and I just leave that there all the time as my tone encoder.
Some people that have perfect pitch can actually sing the tone frequency.
Oh my Lord!
You got to make this.
It would be kind of hard to talk while you're doing it.
I don't know how anybody can sing a silent frequency, but good for them.
It's not silent. That's the thing.
It's subaudible. It just means it's low.
Yeah.
Now it's not even subaudible, because if you listen to 136.5 hertz or whatever, you can hear it.
Yeah.
It just sounds like a hum. So if a radio doesn't filter out the incoming tone, like my 8900 here, when you have it plugged into an external speaker, it doesn't filter out the incoming tone if the repeater is putting out a PL tone. So when that Miami repeater comes on, you could hear in the background the 156.7 hertz tone. It's always there, and you can see it on the spectrum analyzer.
Then that means that they most probably have it set too high. It should be almost inaudible. But yeah.
Okay.
You're young.
Well, like the handheld.
To hear that stuff. When I was young, I could hear the 1500 kilohertz whining for the back of the TV where you have the flyback transformer.
Oh, that's so annoying.
Makes the raster go back and forth.
Yeah.
I could hear that from the other end of the house. I knew if the television was turned on before the volume got cranked up.
Do that too. You could tell if TVs were going in the neighborhood. When I was a kid, I was riding the bicycle. I say, I got TV on, and you could hear that tone at 700 kilohertz a heck of a lot more before you'd hear the sound. That was
I could sit in my bedroom and tell you if a TV was turned on anywhere in the house. I could feel it. It was weird with them old TVs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's not a fun noise.
All right, so let's get back. We got we're now on 6 meters. I just want to touch on 6 meters real quick. 10 and 6 are also the magic bands, mostly 6. Although I will tell you, every time 6 opens up with magic band, I flip over to 10 and it's open too. So they pretty much run hand in hand for magic band. Magic band is in the summertime. I'll tell you guys, if you're big FT8 people and you don't have an antenna for 6, build one.
A Moxon.
6 is easy. There's 10 different antennas you can build. A straight dipole, horizontal dipole out at 20 feet that would get you FT8 contacts. I've done it. So, I mean, it's 6 and 10, we're coming into the solar cycle where literally you can build some little crappy antenna and stick it outside. And when the solar flux gets up over 100, 6 and 10 will open up for you. But anyway, notice with 6, there's a lot of bandwidth here. It's 4 megahertz of bandwidth. Yeah, that's a lot of bandwidth, and there's a lot of different things here that you can do with this bandwidth. So, and there is actually a single sideband calling frequency.
How about that?
Why don't they put anyone anywhere else?
525 is the FM calling frequency. I don't know if it's on, but it is.
FM simplex is between 5202 and 5204.
Yeah, you got it 52525, a couple plate entries below. Primary FM simplex.
Yep, there it is right there. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, there's even a secondary channel. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. And I'll tell you something else about 6. When it's off, it's off.
Yeah. Including they used to fly model airplanes on there before drones came along.
On that band?
Yeah.
Yes.
See
Yeah,
it?
there's 49. Wasn't that 49 megahertz?
Nope, 53.1, 53.2, 53.3, 53.4. And
Oh.
The 49 megahertz band used to be part of the 10 meter, I mean, the ham band, but they stole it from us and gave it to radio controlled toys and home telephones.
Yeah.
Way back when a home phone was about yay so big and had a long antenna.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was right. That was when they were, a lot of them were, 49 megahertz, 49.9, 49.3, 49.6, 49.9. Yeah.
You didn't want to give your credit card number out over that because somebody could hear it with a scanner.
No, my realistic scanner 49.9 was something I always had in there. You could hear, sometimes you could really hear it at night. You could turn that thing on. My outside antenna, I could hear all kinds of cell phones or cordless phones on it. Even back then, man, I used to have one of those scanners that would just start scanning at like 1 and go up, and I used to love that thing.
DC.
That's
today.
nice.
All right, anything else on 6 meters? All right, so I guess the big question we have to ask ourselves is, why is there no single sideband calling frequencies? Is this a conspiracy?
No,
They don't want us calling.
I'm still baffled that you have such a hard time with it. I just tune around till I find either somebody that's talking and I listen for a little bit, and then I just key up and say comment, and eventually they may say, well, who is it that's got the comment? And I ID, tell them who I am, and I just join their conversation.
Or you go to a blank and say QRZ is the frequency in use, please.
Yep. Wait till somebody's done. And if it's a round table of 3 or 4 guys, somebody eventually has to leave, and I just take his spot.
Yeah, I've never quite got the whole taking the spot. I hear we've got nets here in the morning, 3 or 4 different nets that go on here in the early morning. And I hear the guys talking, but there's no net controller, so I never know how to get involved in that. But I listen to them every morning. I don't know. I guess I'm a little shy on the radio. The few times I've jumped in, I've been yelled at, so I don't. I don't do a lot of the jumping in thing.
I wouldn't get too worried about it. Just jump in some more, and somebody will get you sooner or later.
Just tell them you don't own this frequency.
Well, I've done that. I tried at first. I tried just calling CQ. I looked up, where should I start? And I went to the range, and is anyone using this frequency? And I call CQ. I even got fancy where I was saying, CQ, 40 meters. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Echo Foxtrot Sierra, KO4, EFS, Ian and North Fort Myers, CQ, 40 meters. And I drag it out for like 40 seconds. And nobody would answer me.
You don't put them to sleep.
Yeah, well, I even tried short ones, long ones. I tried everything. I don't know. I guess it's one of those things. I think what I'm trying to say is the 2 meter calling channel works great. I monitored a lot. I talked to people on it. I actually log my QSOs I make on it. When I was up in the mountains, I did, I think, 5 or 6 POTA hits on it. I talked to a bunch of different people. I talked to people on the highways and traffic jams. I use it like a CB radio, a 520, the calling frequency. I just don't understand why there's not a starting point everywhere else. We have an AM calling frequency. There's an SSTV calling frequency. There's an FT8 calling frequency. There's an FM calling frequency sometimes. Why not a single sideband calling frequency? and no one can really answer me other than, well, we never really needed one, or well, that's just the way it is. And so I guess the second part of what we're doing here tonight is trying to ask the question, what can we do about it? What do we do? One of the things that, and I want to get you guys' idea on this. One of the things Joseph and I talked about was, why not make one, or maybe go find one that's already being used somewhere and just more popularize it, get it out there. Maybe start trying to monitor it myself and just turn the squelch up and try to answer people on it when I can get a good signal. I don't know. What's the answer? So I'm just going to put it out there to see what you guys think, and to see if this has been a frustration you've had, or to see if maybe I'm out of line. Maybe it's not necessary. Every other radio in the entire world has a calling frequency, whether it's 16 on the Marine band or 19 on the CB or TAC 1 at the fire department. I mean, wherever I was, we always had a Northeast dispatch at the sheriff's department. I mean, it was always a calling frequency, a frequency that you go to as the main frequency where everybody monitors when they're not talking. And I guess I'm just perplexed as to why, when we get into HF, it's the only place where you can go and not find a common ground frequency. I'll take input. Go ahead.
Well, I want to say it's most probably because it's such a small resource to give up an entire frequency and the areas right around it. So you're not, someone's not stepping on your toes. No one wants to give up that spot. It's hard enough for the few nets that are on there for them to claim a spot. So if they picked one, somebody would bark at somebody because they spent more than 30 seconds calling somebody, and that, okay, you've made a contact and now you got somebody to talk with. Where are you going to go that you're not going to be able to find a spot? Because if you go up 10 kilohertz in Florida, that might be an open spot there, but here where I'm at, Georgia, that spot might be busy.
That's true.
Well, okay. The radio is just not that busy when I go listening around.
The other thing is to call CQ close to another station, not right on top of it, but close to it, because then they can hear a little bit of splatter. Somebody might go off and tune to it or whatever. You're wrong about FT8 though. FT8 has not got a calling channel. It's got an operating frequency. It hasn't got a calling frequency.
Okay.
Well, you don't do calling, really.
It's the same thing. I mean, it's a common frequency different. Where everyone meets.
Yeah, it's an operating frequency that you all operate on, but you don't move off of it to go and have your QSO like a calling frequency.
What I'm saying basically is each time we go to a different mode or a different whatever, there is an established frequency where everyone meets.
Yeah, but SSB is a lot wider. There's not a CW calling frequency.
Well, I think there should be.
Well, because then you've got to tune, as you say, you've got to call on it and then move off.
Yeah, well, like in the days of the novice, those guys were crystal controlled. They were.
Yeah, like you're stuck.
Plus a little bit or minus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could grip it and tune it a little bit up and down.
Yes.
But I just can't understand why there's not a place where we can go and call CQ, and that's where other people would go that want to hear CQ.
I think the nature of the band, I don't think it would work, because I think, like you say, if I call Dallas from here, he can hear somebody in Ohio as well as hearing me, because he's in the middle. The skip works.
Then why do we?
There's another secret to it. You know how you didn't like 60 meters because you had to do all those 59 steps to get it to work?
Yeah.
That's how all these other frequencies would be, because when I set my radio to a frequency, I have an icon. I know that my voice is actually going to be a little bit higher than that frequency by whatever audio that I have. On a Kenwood radio, they subtract that. And it actually or do I have this backwards? One of them puts you on where your RF really is, and the other one puts it where your CW carrier would have been. So on sideband, that's 1.5, 1.2 kilohertz off. If your voice was 1.2 kilohertz on average.
I understand what you're saying.
So
we've actually run into that problem. We tried one night after one of our nets here. We all took our shack in the boxes and we went to 70 centimeters single sideband. And what we found was we all sounded very different. And one of us had to start talking and we all had to tune in on his voice. And we were very surprised that when you get up to UHF band, that our radios were also very off. I had to be lower and someone else had to be higher for us to sound normal. So that was very interesting. So I get what you're saying with that. I still just don't understand why there's not a starting point where you could say, hey, I'm a monitoring guy. I monitor a lot of things. I can be monitoring 7 radios at any given time. A lot of times I'm monitoring all 3 of my streams. So I'm monitoring 40 channels. I like to monitor. If there was a call frequency, I would monitor it. I would literally leave it on and monitor it and just turn the squelch up a little bit to where it's not, it's not constantly static. And I guess that's all I'm thinking is I don't know. I would like to have a frequency that we could monitor and people could call on. I guess. I don't know.
Then that would usually be a net frequency of whichever one that you wanted to monitor, the old timers net or the whatever net that's out there. There's a maritime net. That's kind of interesting every now and then, but most of the time it's boring. It's all giddy up.
I've listened to the maritime net, a couple of them actually.
The sound card net and a whole bunch of them out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of HF nets. I did, what was it?
There's some lists of nets online. I don't know where they are.
I can't think of the name of it. I had it. Oh, South Cars. I actually have a South Cars number and was checking in with them for a while.
And then once you find one of those nets, then you go like in 3 kilohertz increments. That gets you far enough away that they should be able to not hear you and anybody else tuning in, especially if they got one of these new fangle-dangle digital radios. You have it set to do it in 1 kilohertz steps so that you're not spinning the dial forever to move the little cursor across so you tune in somebody. I kind of wish that 40 would do that too, but some of those folks like to be at decimal 5, and my radio won't do that in decimal 5 steps.
I've noticed that a lot of people don't stay on an even number. That kind of bugged me too. It's like, why would they literally just spin the dial and wherever it stops, it's like the price is right.
Well, that was the nature of the old radios with with a tuner, and then it's an extra step if you bought the crystal calibrator and then you had to calibrate it and then to go through the trouble to actually turn on the crystal calibrator and calibrate your dial. I mean, that's a lot of work. That you've wasted 10 minutes. And it might take your radio 30 minutes to warm up so that's stable.
Right.
Yeah, that's the other thing is that the older radios used to chase people up or down the band, didn't you? Every time they talked, you'd have to tune them up a little bit because they were still drifting.
They would chase one another up and down the bands,
Yeah.
If I was to hear,
depending when it was getting hot, too hot, or when it started cool, sometimes they would go up and then get too hot, then start coming back down again.
Yeah, I'd be all over the dial trying to get Dave's voice to tune in because he sounds like he's almost sideband with his accent. It's like, where is he supposed to be?
One guy's radio drifts up the band a little bit. The next guy tunes it up. And next thing you know, everybody's chasing everybody all over the band.
That's why you're supposed to tune and listen. That's what that RIT knob is for. Once you start the QSO, you leave the transmitter alone and you grab the RIT knob, and you tune the guy in how you like him, and that's it.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. I don't think anyone ever bothers with the RIT knob anymore, do they?
I do.
I have XIT and RIT. I hardly ever use either one.
Yeah, I've got both. I'm just looking.
All I ever do with HF is talk to people contesting. So I've never talked to anybody long enough to mess with that. As long as all I need is their section number and their location or whatever it is I'm trying to put in my log. Anyway,
I don't really
I'll be
know
honest with you guys.
anybody that you can do that.
What do you mean?
Have a calling frequency. The only way you could possibly do a calling frequency on any of the HF band would have to be segment the band into channels, and then you call on the calling frequency and then move to channel 62 to hold your QSO, because you can't log it or stay on the calling frequency forever chatting. You got to get on there, contact, and move.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, that if you did that, so if I called, like Dallas, he was calling on the call. I was calling on the calling frequency. He came to me, and then he said, "I'll go up 2 channels," and then there would be somebody that I could hear on that channel, but he couldn't. On HF, you don't get that so much on VHF. You don't get that so much on 6 meters, but on HF, you get it all the time. I mean, you can just tune the HF band all the time. You can hear one side of the conversation, not both sides.
Right.
So I don't see how a calling channel would work.
Well, it would just be a place that if someone's wanting to talk to somebody, they would start there. And then if you get somebody, you would find a place to go and have your conversation, or make the log in the logbook and clear and move on. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I just like, if I want to talk to somebody on FT8, I know exactly where to set my dial to talk to somebody on FT8.
Because everybody stays there. Nobody moves. And you can talk to the people that you can hear, and they can hear you. It's not like you're looking at a third element when you do a calling channel. You're trying to confuse operating channels with calling channels, and they're not the same.
Okay, I understand what you're trying to do. But what I'm trying to say is I'm saying, you're saying operational channel and calling channel. I agree with your point on that completely. I'm using a term generically, a starting point channel, okay? That can be an operating channel or a calling channel. I'm just talking about a place where you start. If you're wanting to call on phone and speak to another ham operator on 40 meters, you should have a place where you would start. And that's a place where I would go if I want to listen for a QSO. I wouldn't even care if it was a group of channels or a range of frequencies. But
well, that's what it is. When you look
that's
at
what it is.
It's
a huge range of frequencies.
Yes, because there are like 2 million hams worldwide.
But nobody's using any of these frequencies. I mean,
Well,
I'll dial all the way around sometimes through these voice frequencies and hear nothing on them.
You can also use an SDR and find what's active.
Right.
Yeah, 14207.
They're probably on the air.
And I will say, having my 7300 has made it a heck of a lot easier, because I can see where there's channels. There's people talking. They're right here.
Right, and that helps.
2 to 1, and that's like, that's the old fogies net, and they're going to talk for 14 days. And I'm going to go to Sam and Bob, and Sam and Bob have been talking on this thing since breakfast.
Yeah. And he's given his call sign out once.
Lunch and dinner. I'm not going to get a word in edgewise. And then there's there's the maritime net, and there's the RV net, and then the RV net just went away, and then there's Dallas, and it just, I call out after the RV net goes away, and I talk to somebody.
Hey,
Usually in
Ian.
an RV, but that's beside the point, you know.
Yeah. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, Ian, maybe you got too many LED lights going on there.
It could be.
Just
Could
kidding.
be.
You know, it all comes.
Well, tomorrow I'm actually going to
Yeah.
take I'm going to take all 8 of my 50-watt RGB LED elements and put them out on my roof, shooting up at all my trees in my yard for Halloween.
No, I'm just kidding. You know, that could be
I
some of
thought you were going to send Morse code to the airplanes.
Yeah.
And
And I got to use a laser pointer for that.
yeah,
Yeah,
there
they
you go.
think laser pointers are bad. Wait till they see my floodlights.
Yeah.
You're using you for target practice.
Well, and that's how I screwed my back up, because when I went to my cabin, I put these lights. I don't think I have. No, they're in the other room. They look like just outdoor square floodlights, but they got an LED element in them, a flat LED element, and they're 50-watt LED, which is about a 500-watt equivalent to a 500-watt incandescent. And they are very bright. If when I put these down below my cabin, I'm on a steep mountain with big hardwoods, and I put these 7 or 8 lights all around my cabin, shooting up from below the deck where you can't see them when you're on the deck. And the trees light up all the way to the top of the trees, whatever color I make the lights, and they'll make any color that you want. So yeah, they're really cool. And like I said, I'm going to use them for Halloween this year here at the house and light up all my trees purple. That'll be kind of cool for Halloween. And then maybe I'll put them up again for Christmas and make all my trees red or something. I don't know.
I just had this picture of all this cloud of bugs coming.
Dropping. You wake up in the morning, there's a carpet of dead bugs.
Hey, if I can kill some bugs while I'm doing it, that's cool too.
You got to remember that's food for birds.
Yeah.
The copper knocking on the door, you know, policeman knocking on the door with dark
I actually, believe it or not, I use these lights. I help people with events, and I've used them for a lot of different things. I've lit up the outside of venues for people. I've lit up the stages of different events inside. I use them for all different things. But I have 50 of the smaller elements and 8 of the larger elements.
Does the ISS call you when they're out working on the station? Give them a little bit of extra light.
I got it, you know. And being LED, it don't take a lot of juice, you know. I love LEDs. Let me tell you what, light emitting diodes are probably the biggest advancement in 100 years, and it's underrated. Nobody cares because it's light bulbs. Yeah. It's light bulbs. Let me tell you something. Yeah. LEDs are the coolest thing to ever happen. Okay? They really are. I mean, they produce light with only 1/10 of the power that's necessary, and they can produce it in any frequency you want. It's just an amazing thing that's been done with LEDs. I just think it's nothing against you, Thomas Alva Edison, but the LEDs are really cool. I'd love to have Thomas Alva Edison for one day just to show him around. Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be cool.
All right.
I wouldn't believe what it looks like now.
Yeah, I know.
You'd probably have a problem with it.
And the computers and the radios and everything else, you would be utterly amazed.
All right, guys, it's now time for you to bring your topics. Remember, this is a cricket-free zone. Yeah, that's what I need you to do is make sure we don't have any crickets. So does anybody have any topics they would like to bring this evening that we might be able to help you with here at the TechNet?
I've got a little bit of this has just come to me when you were talking about your bright LEDs, and you said they'll operate on any frequency. So why not get them way up there somewhere and modulate them for field day for extra points?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, actually, it's fun because in field day you can make light contacts. They do count. And yeah, I thought that'd be pretty cool.
And you could do it too. Remember that a while back where I was talking about if you just put a little speaker on a solar panel, you'll actually have an AM radio pretty much. If you modulate like a flashlight or something, you I think you'd have to probably use a transistor for that, but you can modulate a flashlight's output and shine it at the solar panel, and you'll hear the audio just like a normal radio.
Yeah, the laser listening device is something that they can shoot a laser at a glass surface or a window or something, and then basically retrieve the light as it's being bounced back, and they can read the modulation of the vibration of the glass.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty cool.
I've seen this one video where they took a laser.
Or the CIA would do.
Yeah.
I saw this one video somebody made where they took a laser and they modulated it, and they pointed the laser beam at a microphone on like one of those like Microsoft Alexa tablets. And the apparently the energy from the laser was enough to actually recreate audio on the microphone, and they were able to control it from outside the house just by shining a laser in the window.
Yep.
Wow.
It's funny, I mentioned lasers tonight on the other show I produce. We actually had a funny thing. I can actually, if anybody wants the interview, I can send it to you. But we had Flat Earth Dave call today, and we did a pre-record with Flat Earth Dave. And yes, and I debated with Flat Earth Dave about how radio propagation works and how laser light can be used to prove the curvature of the Earth and things like that. And well, just Flat Earth Dave just wasn't having any of that.
I think he gave up on it.
He says the reason that Antarctica, we're not allowed to go on Antarctica, is because Antarctica is not a thing in the middle of the or bottom of the Earth, but it's actually all the way around us, and that we're basically in a big ocean that's in the middle of Antarctica.
But you can go to Antarctica.
Well, there's actually international treaties and stuff that technically prevent us from crossing Antarctica.
Why do they have like bases down there or something?
Yeah, loads of bases.
Yeah, I'm not buying any of that crap.
Still, you can go there. I mean, if you wanted to, you could go.
He wants me to come on his net and debate him, but he's one of those guys that the moment you start to give your point, he shouts you down.
He's a Stalinist.
Yes. And it would be like, I was like, well, what if I take a laser and we go, and it's like, I can't stand that, because it's like, you give your point, I give my counterpoint, you give your point, I give my counterpoint. And it's like, I almost had to start turning this guy down so I could get a word in edgewise, because he was just being a real jerk. But,
they work.
Yeah, but he just kept going on and on. I was like, well, how can I be in Fort Myers, Florida, and my friend be in Europe and another friend be in Brazil, and we all can see the same stars in a totally different part of the sky? And
they can't if they're too far apart.
And he comes back and he says, that's all just an illusion, what you see up there. And I'm like, okay.
Okay, buddy.
Then we got to the point where NASA owns all the helium.
Huh?
Yeah, when he said NASA owns all the helium, and they've got thousands of balloons floating up there, and those balloons give us the illusion of space at night. So that
how can NASA own all the helium when I can go buy a tank?
I don't know. And then he said, well, okay, now you got all the stars and everything up there. It's all fake. Okay. And, the whole sun thing. I'm like, well, the sun goes over, how does that?
No, it doesn't. The sun stays still.
But he apparently, in order for it to do what he says, the sun would have to move around us. And if we're on a flat planet and the sun's moving over us, wouldn't we all get light just about at the same time? Couldn't we end this whole time zone bullshit with just like, wouldn't that end the whole?
That's how we can fix that.
That's how we can fix this debate over the time change, right?
Yes.
Look, the Earth's flat anyway, so it doesn't matter.
At the same moment. Yeah, let's do it. Let's flatten it. I'll get a hammer. I'll start flattening my section. You flatten your section.
There you go. Now that's
so I asked him. I said, To what end is all the governments in the world covering up the fact that space isn't real? And he says that the reason they're covering it up is because when you cross the plane outside of Antarctica, once you get to the edge of the ocean, if you go long enough in any direction, you'll end up at Antarctica. I said, yeah, that's because it's round.
But I just always wondered this. What would the motivation be? How saying that this kind of, putting this idea out there that's flat and it's all been hidden from us. What would the motivation be for keeping something like that, something as astronomically huge as this, a secret? I mean,
I asked that question. You want to know what his answer was?
What?
Because there's better continents on the other side of the divide, and if we find out that this is all BS, we would all leave these oppressive crap holes that we live in now and migrate to the better continents that are just the other side of the divide where we're not allowed to go.
Why don't you sell him a boat? Why don't you sell him a boat and then he'll go sailing and then
I think his biggest problem is the guy that sold him the crack. But anyway,
you know what's the most scary about this kind of person?
Sounds like some good stuff.
It was some good stuff.
Yeah, some really good stuff.
It was a fun interview because I even told him in the interview that I'm going to discuss this on my TechNet tonight. I even said that in the interview because I told him some of the stuff he was saying was so crazy. Because it's like he almost gets you. He's like, well, think about it. If you move any direction in any direction long enough, you're back at Antarctica. So technically, Antarctica could be something that goes all the way around us, and that's why no matter which way we go in any direction, we end up back in Antarctica again. And so we're inside an ocean that's inside Antarctica. Okay.
I think that would be.
I'm thinking. Well, okay. Let me think. I'm actually going to think about this. But then NASA has all the helium, and they got thousands of balloons up to make us think there's stars in the sky at night. And then I hear the Twilight Zone music.
Yeah. You want to hear the great Karnak come out, may an enraged penguin peck you in the ass.
Yeah. Oh my Lord. Anyway, I tried to like give the guy some credit and say, look, let me look at this because, and it's like, okay, so Mars is a disk too? Well, you only see it when you look at Mars, it looks like a disk. Well, it's because you're only seeing one side of it. Or are we?
That eyeball.
Or are we?
Yeah.
Maybe Mars is flat and we're only seeing the one side they want us to see.
I think
maybe
if I was
flat too, and it's like the world's biggest pancake. I'm sorry. This guy's like, and he's serious too. And then he's like, and buy my book and go to my website. Check out my podcast. Anyway, whatever.
The cookie birds come out.
Following that line, you could go along with the fact that the moon is far better than the sun. I mean, it shines at night to start with.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And you know what? I never got moonburn at the beach.
Exactly. So the moon is way, way better than the sun. The sun shines when it's daylight.
That's right.
It's not doing any work. The moon shines at night when it's dark.
Sunshine and moonshine.
I got to where I hate that sun. It's such a bastard. It's always burning people.
Yeah.
All right.
Can't even go to the beach.
It causes climate change. That's gotta fix.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Yeah, the sun doesn't do any of the moon doesn't do any of that, does it? And that completely buggers up the grey line propagation, doesn't it?
There you go. Yeah.
Oh man, what are we going to do?
What are we going to do now?
If it was flat, it would all happen at once.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Too many beans, and you get these CDE things. Isn't that what they call them?
Yeah.
Those big fiery farts that the sun gives you.
Big fiery farts.
Yeah.
Solar fart. It's a big solar fart, a CME.
You gotta watch the solar fart index.
All right. Well, let's do a little news.
I think we killed that one.
All right. So we all agree the Earth's flat. Let's move on to the news. All right. So
somebody needs to put some fix-a-flat in it and fix
there
it.
you go.
Pump it back up.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Terrestrial weather. I don't normally do a lot of terrestrial weather because it's
Well, then
this
don't.
This is Florida where we do wash and repeat. It's the same thing all summer, and then it's the same thing all winter, except you got to know what day the cold front's coming. But anyway, that's pretty much what we got. Our first big cold front of the year, guys. You can see here from the graphic, we're going to have some really nice days coming up. The mornings are going to be cool for the next 4 mornings, and we're going to have really beautiful days. So I just wanted to bring this up. If you're going to do spring cleaning, work on the shack, work in the yard, this is the weekend. This is going to be the best weather we've had at a swap shop in almost 7 months.
It should be nice in that building out there.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. It's gonna be real nice.
Yes, it should be really nice out there tomorrow. So just let you guys know. And Halloween has a really good forecast if you're going to be out on Halloween. So anyway, there you go. Just wanted to bring that up because everybody always talks about how nice the weather here is. I don't agree with you.
In July and August? Nah, not so.
I like the weather here every now and then when a hurricane's coming or something. That's about it. Okay, tropical update. Nothing. Space weather news. We've had a huge coronal mass ejection on the sun, and it has ejected its mass towards us. If you notice in this picture, the sun obviously is that ball in the middle. Now I want you to notice, you see all that crap on the outside? That is actually caused by the snow speckles are caused by snow protons striking the coronagraph CCD camera. The particles were accelerated towards the spacecraft by shock waves in the leading edge of the CME. So the reason you're seeing all that is from energy that's impacting the spacecraft. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. But anyway, they're expecting a strong G3 class geomagnetic storm. Storms are rated from G0 all the way to GD. That's another good joke there if you didn't get it. Anyway, but anyway, you can get all the way up to we had that X1 flare yesterday, and that's going to cause a pretty big CME. What it does to radios, we're going to know, but we're going to talk about. Solar flare happened yesterday. This is what it looked like. Notice it's Earth directed. It was facing almost directly at us, other than it's on the lower hemisphere a little bit, but still pretty much Earth directed. And it was about 100,000 kilometers tall and moved through the sun's atmosphere faster than 700 kilometers a second. That's 1.6 million miles an hour for you and me, boys and girls.
That's an EF5 and by many times.
Yes, you got that right. That's like an EF99 tornado. But yeah, you can see, do you see the wave? I want you to notice every time it erupts. Of course, this is the same eruption over and over. But when it erupts, I want you to notice the wave move across the entire disk of the sun. Do you see that?
I see that.
The blast from this thing literally rippled across the entire surface of the sun. Crazy. So yeah, this was a big one. So what's it going to do? Well, coronal mass ejections are generally a form of disturbance that can affect radio communications. They basically disrupt that steady flow of solar wind, producing a large increase in the flow. This may result in large disturbances and may strike the Earth if it leaves the sun in the direction of the Earth, which this one did. Coronal mass ejections, CMEs, are often associated with solar flare eruptions, but they can also occur on their own. This one was involving a sunspot. CMEs can give rise to ionospheric storms. They can provide a short-lived enhancement to ionospheric radio propagation. Some people will say that a big CME will destroy radio communications. And, in a lot of cases, they're correct. This will probably bring down the total number of QSOs this weekend, which sucks because it's a big contest. But it will also bring unpredictable patterns. And you may actually find a band open up wide open for a period of time too. So don't just always assume that a CME is going to reduce your radio ability. It may actually give you some squirrely propagations. A really good time to watch your PSK reporter and see where all your FT8 traffic's going and give you an idea of what's running where. So we're going to have some very strange things happening this weekend. Another thing that's going to happen along with this is auroras as far south as Maryland. If you've got any friends in the Northeast or in the northern tier states, they need to go to a dark sky location with a tripod and open their shutter as long as they can without the background light destroying the picture. And they should be able to capture an aurora as far south as the Mason-Dixon line, maybe. So interesting there.
Wow.
All right. And the next thing, there's been a new, does anybody have anything else on the solar stuff before we move on?
Oh, I don't think so.
All right. And that does look like a big sun fart. All right. The Wsjtx version 2.5.1 has been released. I think Joseph mentioned this last week as well, but I just wanted to bring it up again. This has been released. For those of you who use just the FT8 mode, it just cleaned up some problems within the program. But for those of you who use some of the other, the Q65 or the JT65, they've made some pretty big changes to those two modes. So you might want to get the update right away if you're using those two modes. Okay, for everybody else, just get it when you get it. No biggie. All right, this weekend.
I should probably mention here real quick that for Linux users, I have an update script for Wsjtx that they can get on my GitHub page.
Ooh.
It's github.com/dslaughter, DSLOTTER/ham_radio_scripts. And you can go there and there's the update Wsjtx from source script that you can run. It works on many different versions of Linux, not all of them, but some of the more popular ones.
That's very cool. Here we go. I found it.
Excellent. In fact, I didn't realize 251 had been released, so I'm running the script right now. And it's actually 41% built already.
Oh, it does. You have an update FL. Did you? Sweet. You got update Wsjtx. That's very cool.
Huh.
I already updated mine manually, but that's super cool. I'm gonna save that.
John typed in there that he thought we were talking about SSB and then he left.
Yeah, he didn't like our sidetrack.
We got
SSB.
sidetracked. This is enough of you silly boys.
Oh, well, we talked about that for 12 minutes. I'm sorry. All right. Guys, if we just do nothing but the facts, it's not very entertaining, is it?
No, if we don't have a little bit.
Have we done any facts yet?
I'm trying to avoid it.
Then I'd be going to sleep.
All right, this weekend and where John's at right now is the CQ Worldwide DX contest on single sideband. It started just a little while ago because it starts at midnight Zulu, and it goes through 23:59 tomorrow night. So it's 2 full days of mayhem. Yeah, they're on all, not all the bands, but most of them. And just remember, they're not on 60 or 30 or 12 and 17.
12, yeah.
What do they call these? The work bands, I guess.
Work bands.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of different classes that you can work. There's all kinds of wattages you can work. This is a big one. If I had my shack set up and I didn't have 5 other things going on this weekend, I'd probably be in on this because I like talking phone and I never get to because nobody's ever on there talking phone. So I would probably do this just so I could talk phone. And then if you're into the CW, that's next month.
Oh, let's try that.
All righty. Any questions on this one?
Maybe I'll give it a. What is that? When is it? we'll give it a try when I set up the
week.
antenna.
Yeah, cqww.com.
Okay.
/rules.htm if you want that page.
Oh, great. They want to give me the rules.
Oh, it's all about the rules with these contests. Holy crap. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is the connected repeater system. If you guys haven't tried it out yet, I think they're still working on output PL. So if you've tried this and you didn't hear anything, it's probably because you need to turn the PL receive side off on your radio. They're going to fix this eventually. It may already be fixed. But for right now, if you see that it's busy but you don't hear them, it's because the PL on the receive side is turned on your radio. And if you need some help with that, Joseph or I, there's a bunch of us that can help you with that. Just get with
Believe
one
it or
of
not,
us.
I can hear all 4 of these repeaters here.
Are they all putting out tone now?
I don't know if I can. I don't know if that. I haven't checked that, but I can hear the repeaters here.
Okay.
So let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, I got the 147345. It's pretty close to me.
Yeah.
136.5. I should try it. Oh no, my stuff fell down.
If you guys like this map, there's a copy of this map that you can save in today's newsletter that went out.
Oh, what?
Wait.
147345. Okay, there we go.
I made this today because honestly, I don't like when somebody explains something to me in text. I like to be able to visualize it. So anytime there's something like this, I just make a map.
I'm gonna monitor the link system.
There's software out there that will do that, but the software version of this will look at the contour of the area. Of course, you're in Florida where it's all flat.
All flat.
So the contour is not much, but depending on the height of the tower and cable losses and all that stuff, that might be an interesting to look at, see better than just a circle, what the expected propagation is supposed to be. But to do that, somebody would have to know like where the transmitter's at and antenna height and expected cable losses other than, it's.
What is the software that does the contour mapping?
It's well, there's a website for it called I don't know, Radio Mobile something. I'll look for it and I'll post it in the. It's a ham radio guy up in Canada. You enter a bunch of stuff and it'll produce a map for you.
That's very cool. If I can find it here. Because yeah, I don't know. Calculating the range of repeaters and stations has always given me such weird results. Like you go 5 different websites and you put in your antenna height and frequency in all these different websites, and each one is going to give you a different answer. And sometimes they're like drastically different answers. So I don't know. I don't even trust a lot of these places anymore because some will tell you, oh yeah, you can easily make it over there. And others are like, oh no, you only have 6 miles of range. I guess it could be user error, but they're usually pretty easy to figure out.
Yeah.
But thanks for making that map. That's really good. I wasn't sure where they were all located. Now I know.
Well, it'll help folks hopefully try to find the closest to them. I can't hit or hear the one in Bonita at all. And if I put my beam down there, I can barely hear static. I don't think it's up very high. The one in the Cape and the one in Lehigh, I can get from here just fine with my Omni. And the 220, I can talk from my bedroom on my 5-watt Baofeng.
Yeah.
It works great. I mean, last night I had it clipped on my headboard and I had my little mic and I'm talking on it. So it didn't even have the benefit of my hand giving it a ground.
Yeah.
And I was talking just fine on it, crystal clear. So
You couldn't ask for a better location for that 220 machine. That's just outstanding.
Oh yeah, that's perfect spot.
and I like that band. It's actually like the good from 2 meter and the good from 70 centimeters all wrapped up into one neat little box.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great.
So it's a great band. I like it. It's clear. And as long as you've got the right antenna on the bow thing,
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's got those dual bands that the big club's selling. They work great. They're wonderful little radios. They've got them all programmed up for you. They'll sell you one. The only thing you got to make sure is that you have the right antenna screwed in on it.
Yeah, for 220.
Right.
Yeah, I think the 220 antennas have a little yellow sticker on them.
They do,
you can
and
make sure.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah,
mine's
they've got a yellow.
Yeah. Yeah, the one that the 220 has a yellow band on it, and the other one either has a red or a black band on it. So that's how you know.
Down the Darrow 220.
If you look, it actually says the frequency range on it too, but you have to look in there to see that. But yeah, you just want to make sure you get the right one. Okay. Anyway, other than that, I wanted to just mention the nets real quick. I checked in on the Southwest Florida traffic net this morning with those guys and told them about the net and everything. And the Sunshine net's great. So lots of good nets here. The Loggerhead net, Alex does that on Sunday nights, and I'm going to see Alex tomorrow. He's donating a piece of equipment that's going to allow us to get another system up online. So that's great. He's donating a really nice receiver. So I'm looking forward to getting that and getting. I've already got the computer set aside for it and the spot set aside for it. So that's cool. The windmill net is great. It's a great idea. If even if you're a tech, it gives you a way to check out your 10 meters if you want to try 10 meters out. And the newbie net's great for newbies. It's you have to wait for after the club net. Who knows when that ends? Usually around 8 o'clock. Yeah. And there's your other ones. The Aries, the two Aries nets are both on Wednesday nights, one at 7 and one at 7:30. And you can check in on those even if you're not a member of the net or a member of the Aries team. You can still check in as a guest. And the Buck and the Quarter net, that one was doing great this week. And you can check in on that on WinLink or All-Star Net, Echolink or All-Star Net. I always say the wrong thing. Echolink or All-Star Net on the Buck and a Quarter. Because as I just showed you here, the Buck and a Quarter net is on the 220, which is now linked in with these other three repeaters. So you can be on the 220 net without having a 220 radio right now. It's not going to stay that way permanently, but it's pretty cool because even if you don't have a 220 radio, you can still check in. There was 21 of us on that net.
I was going to say there were 21 check-ins this last Monday.
And Dallas and folks that are out of town, you can still check in on this net. There's the information you need to find the All-Star link or the Echo link nodes if you want to check in with us on there.
Now, that's an interesting map. You've got Alabama south of Lehigh Acres.
What?
Take a look at that. Looks like it says Alabama.
Oh, yeah, there's an area over there that's called Alabama.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I'm not sure what the deal is with that. Where do you see that? I've seen it before. There it is. Yeah. Right by Lehigh Acres.
Weird.
I know. It's kind of funky, especially for me because I go to Alabama.
It's a community. The community there is known as Alabama, but nobody ever calls it that. And it's because the road that runs through there is Alabama Road. It's okay. I don't know why. I don't know.
I thought that was a strange quirk.
Yeah. Well, you knew Alabama was right outside of Lehigh, right? Yeah. Anyway, there we got the 3 digital nets. We got the 3 digital nets, and I will tell you the Yazoo Fusion net. I was participating. Yazoo.
I love how it still says Yazoo.
Wazoo
logo.
I don't care. Oh yeah, I don't care because I'm spelling it however I want, dude. It's my thing. It's my slide. When you make your slides, you spell them however you want, dude. But anyway, yeah. So there's all kinds of good nets, and of course the Gab Fest I do every week. Charles does the great simplex.
Oh man, I meant to check into the Gab Fest yesterday. I completely forgot.
I check in on the Gab Fest on the way home from work because I get off at 8 o'clock on Thursday nights. So I literally check in every night. And what I try to do is when I check in, I try to get right on top of the bridge and I slow down to where I'm right at the top of the bridge. And I'm like, KO4 EFS, Ian in North Fort Myers. And everybody's like, Ian's mobile. He's loud and clear. I'm like, yeah, I'm on this big Comet antenna sitting up on top of the Edison Bridge. So
That was me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And the digital practice net, I've done that a few times. That's fun. If you want to use your JS8 call or your I'm sorry, your FL Digi or your SSTV, that's a great net for that. The TechNet newsletter, a great one went out today. I sent it also out to on the cars list as well, and I sent it out to our list. Our list right now has well over like 130 something people on it, plus the cars people. Plus, I'm sending it to a bunch of other people right now, so it's got a pretty good reach. We're probably reaching about 250 people right now, so it's quite a newsletter. If you guys don't get it, if you want it, just sign up for it. You can stop at any time. It doesn't cost anything. It's got all the latest, all the news and everything we go over on here on it, and we are looking for anybody that wants to help us out. Someone a while back sent me a message that they wanted to do FL Digi with us, and I've lost the email, so I got to go. I'm still trying to find that one. But if there's anybody out there that wants to do a topic with us, we're looking for people to take topics, specifically digital topics, FL Digi, JS8 call, all the different digital modes, other stuff with other stuff like FT8 that's not FT8. Anything that we can do that we haven't done yet, something that maybe Joseph and I don't know about yet. We need you to teach us. That's the whole point. And of course, join the Southwest Florida TechNet tech team. We are gathering right now. There's 25 people on the list, and we're going to have our bylaws meeting coming up probably sometime next month, late next month. The swap shop is this coming Saturday. It says
Tomorrow.
Next Saturday. Ignore that. It's tomorrow. The date is correct. It's on the 30th. So we'll see you out there at the swap shop tomorrow. And our club repeater net, I try to monitor this. My shack's been down, so I haven't been monitoring it as much. But I try to monitor this as much as I can so you guys can give us a call on it. And spread the word about the TechNet. Get the word out there. And if you have any old equipment you want to donate, we will put it to good use. And don't forget the TechNet has a wonderful website that we would like for you guys to utilize. And if there's anything you want us to add to the website, just let us know. We'd like to add that to the website. That's about all I have for tonight. And it is, well, heck, what time is it? It's after 10.
12 after 10.
10.
12. Yeah, so we made it.
You did pretty good actually this time.
I'm not shutting it off right now, but I just, we made it. Made it past 10 o'clock. I like to give 2 hours of good content every time, and I think we did that again tonight. I'm sorry that our 12-minute sidetrack ran a few people off.
We'll try to keep
If you don't like tangents and sidetracks, don't listen to our other show on the other radio either.
Yesterday he was like, I'm on a sidetrack of a sidetrack of a tangent of a sidetrack.
Sometimes we'll be on a tangent that was on a sidetrack that was a sidetrack from a previous segment, which literally was a tangent from the one before that. And it's good radio.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, very entertaining.
That's how you get to learn your way around a town. That's how I got to learn my way around Atlanta, by doing sidetracks and driving back streets and all kinds of weird places. And I found out how to get around.
There you go. That's how you do it. Oh man, what a week. I got to tell you. Does anybody have okay, there we go. Does anybody have any other thing they'd like to bring up, or anything we'd like to talk about on the TechNet before we end the YouTube broadcast for tonight?
No. Yes.
So I had tried to actually chime in, and I kept getting, I wasn't able to get anybody's attention at the time, but back when you all were talking about solar, Ian, have you done field day yet?
Yes. Yeah, I've done field day once from my shack. I did winter field day with FMARC.
See, the reason I'm bringing up solar again is that there was a lot of negative comments about it. And field day, the ARRL actually awards points for a club if they operate a station using power off of a battery that was charged from a solar cell. So I just want to put it out there that There's actually people with opposing viewpoints there on solar energy usage.
Okay, well, I don't. I hope I didn't give the impression that I was a solar poo-pooer. I am a subsidy poo-pooer. I am all for solar, and I plan to get into it myself and run my stuff off of it on my activations and stuff. I love solar. But
getting a different impression from the group.
Yeah, well, no, I want to understand, and I'll let the group. I'll let anybody else that wants to respond to this as well. I tried to spell out exactly what my two issues with solar are. One is government subsidies. I don't believe in government subsidies. If something is at the point where it's ready to go on its own, then it goes on its own. You don't subsidize something for 20 years. We haven't gotten anywhere, and we're still subsidizing.
Yeah.
My other problem with it is I don't think we're at the spot yet where we're taking into the maintenance that's going to be required in Florida to have one of these systems on your roof for 20 years. Those were my two problems. I think it's a great technology, and I think that we're getting close to it being equitable to do. The only other question I have, I'm concerned about all these fields. They're knocking down forests to put up solar panel fields.
And I don't think that's a good idea.
I don't understand that. I'd rather keep the forest and put the solar panels over our homes where they keep them cooler.
Yeah.
I haven't heard about that, but there's plenty of places in the desert that solar panels would work pretty well too.
Fine with that too. All I'm saying is if we're going to go from the green angle, and I don't have a problem with green, okay, good with green. If we're going to go the green angle, then we need to go the whole green angle and not be a cafeteria Catholic where we just pick what we like and not what we don't like. If we're going to go green, let's go green, and let's quit killing the birds with the windmills, and let's quit knocking down forests to put up solar panels. What I'm saying is these solar panels need to be raised up a few inches above our roofs on our homes.
Okay,
that doubles our R rating on our home right off the bat. We lose all that heat beating down on our home, and we're converting that heat into energy and then using that to take the heat out of our home using the air conditioning system. It makes perfect sense to me. Knocking down the forest doesn't.
One of your prior points was killing birds. If that was really a concern, then why do we have hundreds of thousands of miles of highway? We kill animals all the time with our vehicles, and nobody bats an eye about it.
I agree. Well, because there is no other choice there. Windmills are starting.
Yes, of course, there's plenty of choices. We can walk. There's plenty of towns in Europe where people and Asia where people walk around and the bicycle, and they don't use cars at all.
I can't walk to my nearest convenience store. It's a half a mile away.
That's because America hasn't designed itself that way.
Yeah.
Okay, but that doesn't change the situation that we have to have cars to drive around in. We have 20 different ways to make electrical energy. I'm not even saying I'm completely opposed to wind turbines, but what I am saying is the killing of the birds thing. I threw that out there. My biggest problem with those is they're just not economical at all. By the time you build it, and the cost to tear it down, and the cost to maintain it, and the cost to operate it, they never break even. They've never broken even. There's fields of them out in California that they've gone up and they've bolted them to where they don't spin anymore because they can't afford to maintenance them. So all I'm saying is I'm for anything that doesn't require a government subsidy. All that wind energy was all government subsidized. So in other words, all the money that was made on it was made, but it all came out of tax money. See what I'm saying? I mean,
I can't really speak to wind turbines because I'm not planning on putting a wind turbine in my backyard, and I'm not as educated on that because I haven't researched it. I've done plenty of research on solar, and solar is extremely cost effective.
Then why does it need a subsidy? And I'm trying not. I don't want to be argumentative. Please don't take it that way. But if it is reached that point, why does it still require such large subsidies to get corporations to do it?
Okay, I'm not aware of the subsidies for corporations that you're referring to. Or is that do you have a specific government law that you can point to about that?
Yeah, every single company that's putting solar in down here is doing it using government subsidies, whether it's private, whether it's corporate, public, whatever it is. All the government agencies that are putting them on their roofs, they're getting federal grants to do it. All of the private ones that are going in are getting direct subsidies from state and federal sources to do it. That's how they're able to do it, because if you don't have a subsidy, the cost savings you're going to have on your electricity will never equal the cost of the system, 20 years of financing for the price of this system plus maintenance. It'll never
Okay,
cover
that's
that.
yeah.
So they have
I'm
to add
sorry,
a
I can't.
government subsidy to
I
that.
can't
No,
agree
that's
with you.
okay.
I can't agree.
Again, this is not an argument, it's a discussion. But that's my problem, is we have to reach a point where you can install it and maintain it and run it for 20 years, and it can make the person money at the end of the 20 years. And we are not there yet. If we were, government subsidies would not be necessary to get people into these systems. But
Okay,
that's
you
the
keep
only
harping
way you
about
can make.
these. You keep harping about these subsidies, but the
Because that's my
fact
biggest
of the
problem
matter-
with this entire thing. Yes.
Okay, hey, you know what? You're going to keep interrupting me. I'm just going to disconnect. I
Oh.
mean, you were talking earlier about other people not behaving properly on the channel, but I'm not being respected here.
You interrupted me a number of times, sir. I don't believe I've been any more argumentative than you've been.
Man.
Wow. That's the problem with some people on the other side. I guess they just they don't want to get into a discussion about it.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I do know what I'm talking about. I've been dealing with this for years on commercial radio. This is one of the things we discuss on there a lot,
Yeah.
and I have dealt with this a lot. And you have to understand, if something is at the point where it is self-sustaining, we don't need the government to come in and pay you to put it
How
in.
you do it. That's right.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not against any of it. I'm not even against windmills if you can prove to me that it's worth killing the birds for.
Yeah.
But
Well,
the problem is, windmills have never made more money than they've cost.
yeah,
So
I'm interested in the solar technology insofar as it would be a great thing to have around here for like emergencies and that kind of thing to
Mhm.
power radios.
exactly.
And you don't have to go out and rewire your house and all that stuff. And the thing doesn't have to be outside all the time. That'd be a nice thing to have.
I agree.
And and when it comes to energy, I'm pretty much an all of the above guy. I mean, for everything, but all this business, they want to get rid of gasoline and everything else. To me, it's nonsense.
That's again, subsidies. That is an artificial stimulation of the market.
Yeah.
Discontinuing fuel production is an artificial destimulation of the market. And they're doing both. They're working on both sides to push us towards something that has not reached the point where it can be done equitably.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Not against any of it.
Look at California. They can't keep the power up because they've turned off what is it, coal and a number of natural gas power plants. I say turn the power company loose and say, you produce the power. We don't really give a damn how you do it. Just get it done and don't pollute the air while we're at it. That's the way I look at it.
Agreed.
Don't tell people how to produce power. But our current regime up there is they want to dictate everything. I don't want to get into politics here, but
and there's other issues with this too. I know of a certain ham, I won't mention who, that has been fighting for months and months and months to get solar panels put on his house, and he can't get the county to give him permits.
Yeah.
Lee County.
all the BS to go through.
Yep. And months and months and months. Here's a man that's trying to do the right thing. He's trying to go green. He's followed all the rules. He's trying to put the things on his roof, do the right thing, and the county won't just come out and approve it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I'm so sick of that. It's like if you're going to require permits for us to build things, you need to be able to provide those permits in a timely fashion.
I agree.
You know, I'm a libertarian. I believe that about 90% of local ordinances should be gone, and about 50% of state statutes are worthless. I just don't believe in a lot of it, and it's just, you know, that's the way I feel. I'm not an anarchist. I believe we need to have stop signs, speed limits, but I think that the way we do things is just totally back assward sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
YouTube still on?
Yeah, we can go ahead and end that if
Well,
you think.
Yeah, we can. I did have something I kind of wanted to show, but we can do it not.
Off of YouTube at the rate we're going.
We'll go ahead and turn it off.
The things
Yeah,
with the
that's
cars
true.
is,
YouTube
Sorry.
may ban me just because we said global warming wasn't real or something. So
yeah, well, when we were talking about the solar and we were saying about the solar cars, you know, the electric cars, there's several problems there that I don't understand. You know, I'm an engineer, and I would have thought that if you're going to make something to replace, you know, the internal combustion engine and the way we use it, you would make us an electric car that perform the same way. And I don't understand why, you know, we have to have different charge stations for different models. So they're all on a different standard.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah, and the other thing is, you know, there's $12,500 now subsidy for every single car, which I don't understand. But the other thing is, you know, an internal combustion engine, there's three varieties. Basically, there's diesel, you know, leaded and unleaded, and the leaded's gone away now. So basically, but every single electric car runs, or the models run on a different voltage, different batteries, and all the rest of it. And your distances, I mean, I've got a friend of mine who lives next door, he's a doctor. His practice is up in Gainesville. He cannot go from Gainesville to here with his Tesla. But if they were to make these things, so instead of going to a gas station, you went in, you drove in, they took the battery pack out, they put another battery pack in, and you drove away. 10 minutes. You know, the moment we go into a gas station, we fill up, we go and get a pee, we buy an orange juice or, you know, Coca-Cola or something.
Like changing tires in NASCAR. Bang,
Yeah.
bang.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Well, like Formula One, 2.5 seconds, that would be way better. NASCAR take forever. But, you know, it would be, and I don't understand why they're not working that. Why are the government writing all these specifications and everything else, but they're not writing a standard for the car? They did it for cell phones. I mean, they messed it up big time. But 10 years ago, they wrote a specification for cell phones that every single cell phone had to have the same charger. They messed it up so big that nobody ever talks about it anymore. So what did they do? The manufacturers made a USB charger for all their phones. All the cords are all still different. But there is a standard. And I don't. It annoys me.
Like having to go to the gas station. Well, do I do the one with the round nozzle, the triangular nozzle, or the square nozzle?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And how many people have you seen trying to, you know, squeeze the, you know, the green one into the, you know, the diesel into a regular car or whatever? I don't understand. I mean, I would have thought that it would have been the simplest thing.
Just, it sounds like a good plan, but the only problem I would see with that is the single biggest cost of these vehicles is the battery.
Yeah.
The single largest maintenance issue of these cars is the battery. And the number one thing that goes bad in these cars is the battery. So what you're going to end up with the same thing that happens with these tanks for your charcoal grill. You end up getting one day that's old and it's out of its electrostatic testing, and you end up, they won't take it back. I would be worried that you end up giving your new battery and you get another battery and stick it in your car, and it only makes it half the distance because it's some old battery. That's the only that's the only thing I can see that's issue with that.
But you got the advantage that you could go to your cabin
Yeah, and if you got 4 people in the car and it's fully loaded, and it's got a bunch of stuff on the roof tied down, and you're going to do 85 down the interstate all the way there, you're going to get about 180 miles out of that thing.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky. And the thing is, there's none of them that offer a switch out component for the battery. No. So you couldn't even carry a spare battery in your trunk and switch it out halfway through the trip. So, that's the thing. When I get in the car, I'll drive. Yeah.
And that's the funny thing is about the emergency vehicles that are designed for, doing these electrical vehicles now. They've got a diesel generator on the back that generates electricity enough to charge the thing up to get it off the road. Basically, just, without towing it, get it off the road and put it somewhere where you can charge it. So and then don't talk about the infrastructure.
This new technology is so good that we still need old technology to keep it going.
Yeah. Well, just like the windmills, those things have about 180 gallons of oil in them.
Yep. And they all leak.
And they all leak. Yeah. Exactly.
Look at the bottom of any of them.
Yeah. So, they've got to use still the old technology of dragging, digging for oil and all the rest of it just to keep the things running.
Hey,
basically
Ian.
Go
ahead, Joseph.
So Micah is still in here. He's supposed to be going to sleep, but he's still in here, and I haven't been co-host. Can you boot him out so he's not staying up till 2 a.m.? I mean, he's supposed to be going to bed, and I think he took the phone in there with him and he's listening to it, and he's probably asleep by now, but he's still in here. And if, it can get a little bit crazy in here sometimes when it gets late, and I prefer if he was not here to hear that.
He's gone.
Okay, he's gone.
Did you do it?
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and end the YouTube. So we're going to go ahead and end the YouTube, and then we'll just have a little rag chew in here at the end.
All right, I'm going to be back in just a minute.
All right. All right, everybody that's been in. This has been the Southwest Florida